doctrine too, through the scriptures. We might as well drill it through the scriptures. Give me Jeremiah 15:33. We're gonna drill it throughout the scriptures. Now, if somebody after tonight believe in this Negro only doctrine, you don't believe in the Bible. You need to go get a Mormon's book. You must not believe in the Bible and biblical prophecy. Let's get Jeremiah 50:33.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 33.
Huh.
Thus saith the Most High of Hosts,
Right.
the children of Israel.
The children of who?
Of Israel.
Now, who's the children of Israel after the kingdom split? Who's considered the children of Israel? The children of Israel is the 10 tribes, who we call, and according to history in the scriptures, the so-called Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. Read.
The children of Israel
Right.
and the children of Judah.
And the children of Judah. The 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and Ephraim, all the way up to Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, and etc. Read.
Were oppressed.
Were what?
Were oppressed.
Were who?
Were oppressed.
Were oppressed. Read.
Together.
To what?
Together.
To who?
Together.
Together. Read.
And all that took them captives held them fast.
Now, they were oppressed together. Jeremiah was prophesying during the Babylonian captivity, right? The only major captivity that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom was together was Egypt. Was the northern kingdom in Babylon? Was the northern kingdom in Babylon? So which Babylon is this talking about? Is this ancient Babylon or modern day Babylon? Give me Jeremiah 7:15.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, and verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I will cast you out of my sight.
What did the Most High say?
And I will cast you out of my sight.
He's speaking to the southern kingdom at this time. He said he's going to cast them out of his sight. Read.
As I have cast out all your brethren.
All your who?
All your brethren.
All your what?
All your brethren.
All the brethren. Read.
Even the whole seed of Ephraim.
All of the seed of who?
The seed of Ephraim.
All the seed of Ephraim. Now, I got my sniper, my officer, Kairom, on the chat. Kairom, if you want to take down this brother's number, we could set up a live debate. You could go ahead and do that. You got permission to do that. So you could get smashed up through the spirit of the Most High. So let's read that again.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, and verse 15.
Right?
And I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren.
Read.
Even the whole seed of Ephraim.
Even the whole seed of Ephraim. Now, did the northern kingdom go into Babylon with the southern kingdom? Now you can give me Jeremiah 7:15. Oh, so like it. You already read that, right? Give me 1 Chronicles 9. 1 Chronicles 9:1. Because the Most High just said he's going to cast us out like he did the seed of Ephraim. The Ephraimites in the northern kingdom, they went into Assyrian captivity around 726 BC. They already went 100 plus years into slavery before the southern kingdom went to captivity. So this Babylon right here he's talking about cannot be ancient Babylon because they were never oppressed together. The Ephraimites was not together as a whole with the southern kingdom in Babylon. So go ahead and read that for me.
1 Chronicles chapter 9 and verse 1.
Read.
So all Israel
Right.
were reckoned by genealogy.
Read.
And behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah,
Right.
who were carried away to Babylon.
To where?
To Babylon. To Babylon. To Babylon.
So we see in the Chronicles, it lets us know that the kings in the seed of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they went into where?
To Babylon.
They went to Babylon. The northern kingdom didn't go into Babylon. So we see that there's something going on here that we're not understanding. There's something that we know that's something that we misconstruing in the scriptures. Because where did the northern kingdom go?
The water?
The water.
He was giving us a testimony how he was dealing with a couple. Because she did the wife didn't hear what she wanted to hear, now she believed that Hispanics are not Israelites.
Right?
What Moses did wasn't adulterated. It wasn't adultery. The priest gave, the Midianite priest gave Moses his daughter. Moses married the daughter. Go back to you in Chronicles. We're going to read that again. A bastard. When these doctrines like the Negro only foolishness and the Mumsir foolishness come up, it's because brothers have this black alike spirit. All Israelites got to look like Akon and Wesley Snipes. We don't have to look like Akon and Wesley Snipes, right? To their understanding, we probably Japhites, because we Almond Brown, right, brother?
Right.
Pull out that scripture.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23 and verse 2.
3.
A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High.
So this is when it was commanded that they cannot enter to the sanctuary. So a bastard is not a mixed Israelite. A bastard is not somebody with an Israelite father, heathen mother. That's not what a bastard is. The bastard was Moab and Ammon. They are the biblical bastards. They're the first bastards. So let me get 2 Chronicles 22:11. This is something else I wanted to drill. Because right now we just banging up this doctrine right now. Like if anybody play Grand Theft Auto, we just banging it up right now. It's about to be wasted.
Yeah.
Give me Second Chronicles 22:11. Because a lot of times our people believe that tribes can't intermingle too. That's a thing. That's the thing. That we can't intermingle. A Levite can't get with a Judite. A Judite can't get with a Benjamite. You got to stay within your tribe. Because of their how can I say, their misconstrued understanding of the Torah. 10th tribes read,
which were carried their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
Now he's referencing what happened in 2 Kings 17. That's what we read earlier, to prove that the northern kingdom, they went to Assyria. Read.
And he carried them over the waters.
Right.
And so came they unto another land. But they took his counsel, they took this counsel among themselves.
Right.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
They would leave the multitude of the heathen, read.
And go forth unto the further country, where never mankind dwelt.
Where no man dwelt. Read.
That they might there keep their statutes.
Right.
Which they never kept in their own land.
Right.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
Right.
For the Most High then showed signs for them.
The Most High showed that he was dealing with them when they left. Read.
And held still the flood.
Read.
Till they were passed over.
Right.
For through that country, there was a great way to go, namely of 1.5 years.
Now, a lot of times they say that this land that they went to was Africa. Our people knew Africa. Why do you think a lot of times we went into Egypt? We knew Cush. We knew Ethiopia. We knew Cyrene. Cyrene is Libya. We knew Tarshish. We knew Lud. We knew Javan. We knew Meshech, which is in Europe, in these areas. We knew these places. Continue reading.
And the same region is called Arsarid.
What's it called?
Arsarid.
What's it called?
Arsarid.
So I want brothers that's in the chat, or sisters in the chat, put number 1 if you could see the definition for the word Arsarid. And this is a scholar, accredited scholar, giving us where is Arsarid? Where did they go? Get back in Jeremiah 15:33. Put 1 in the chat if you can see it.
50.
Can they see it, Art? They can see it? Put a 1 in the chat if you can see it, so we know that you're following along. All right, so let's get the definition for Asareth by accredited scholar. Asareth, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses. That's why when we go and see amongst the Gadites, we see these people was having fringes. They kept the new moon. They kept the Sabbath. When we look at Issachar, they knew that they were the Issacharites. They understood. They had understanding of Yahushua. When we go into their God, their deity, Quetzalcoatl, his narrative matches right along with Yahushua's story in the scriptures. How would they know about Yahushai if nobody was, even, that's before even the conquistadors came to them. Before the Spaniards came to them, they already understood these things. Let's continue. Until the time of restoration, according to 2nd Ezra 13 and 45, this is a credited scholar, brothers, Columbus identified America with this land. So let's read Jeremiah 15:33 for understanding.
Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. Thus said the Most High of Hosts,
right?
The children of Israel and the children of Judah were
right.
oppressed together.
The children of Judah and the children of Israel was oppressed together. They were being oppressed in the same place at the same time. Where is this place? This place is America. This place that's oppressing them is America. Who do you see getting oppressed most in this country? Give me Jeremiah. This is a scripture I want to get. Jeremiah 3 and 18. Jeremiah 3 and 18. Because the Heavenly Father said they will be in captivity together in the same place. A credited scholar, not a Negro who's staying in a closet with one light saying that, brother, they're not Israelites. Do you see that he got wavy hair and we're supposed to be black with nappy hair?
Yep.
Not these Negroes. A credited scholar in the scriptures. Read.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 18.
Right.
In those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel.
Right.
And they shall come together out of the land of the...
Read it out again. Read that one more time, brother. One more time.
In those days...
In those days...
The house of Judah...
The house of Judah, the southern kingdom, read...
Shall walk with the house of Israel.
With the house of Israel, read...
And they shall come together...
They shall come together out of the same place together. Read.
Out of the land of the north.
Where is the land of the north? Where's the land of the north? Right? It's North America. This is the land that we're suffering with together. Mind you, there's still Israelites that scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. We still have the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Ewe, the Limba. We have these tribes that's still in Africa. We have the Magauzi that's in Madagascar. We have the Sidis in India. We already understand this, that there's Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But majority of the Israelites will be here together. Read.
Out of the land of the north.
Mm-hmm. Read
Out of
again.
the land of the north. Okay. Verse 18 from the top. In
Mm-hmm.
those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel.
Right.
And they shall come together out of the land of the north.
Right.
To the land that I have given for an inheritance.
Now the land that they will come out together from, they were going to the land where the Most High gave them an inheritance. Now, for our people who have this dumb man doctrine, this is dumb man doctrine version 2. The Negroes only doctrine. When you say that the northern kingdom is not Israel, you're automatically saying that we're not Israelites because we'll be together, leaving the same place together. If you're saying that the Israelites, the 10 tribes is in Africa, you're saying Judah, Benjamin, and Levi is in Africa. And we're Philistines and Egyptians. You probably an Ethiopian, brother. Right? You probably Japhet. That's what they're saying. Because our people, they don't read the scriptures. They don't take their time to read the scriptures and to learn and humble themselves down, do the research, do the homework. And this class is not about to beat nobody down. This is a class to shed light into some of these doctrines and philosophies our people is pushing. And it's time that we leave this nonsense and come back and read the scriptures. Read it from what it is. There's nothing wrong with asking for education, asking for somebody who's well seasoned in the word to give you understanding in the scriptures. Because when that video dropped from Priest Alazar about the Viva Yasha Allah, I don't know if you was there, right? You was there when he did the presentation? When that video dropped, you're going to have brothers losing their hair. They're going to go crazy. Because after you watch this video, I don't know how you could utter it out of your mouth. These people are not the children of the Most High.
They can't refute it. If they will, then it's just civil.
Exactly.
All the evidence, all the documents they have, all the proof. If it's denied, there's something wrong with it.
So we do have 33 viewers on the chat right now. We've seen a lot of brothers, getting out of the flesh. They're getting very fleshly, like ribeye steak. So we are going to open up the calls. We're going to go on a brief 2 to 3 minute break real quick, and then we're going to open up the line. Now, mind you, if anybody called in, give me 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. 14 and 40. We're going to bring down the rules of our platform. 1 Corinthians 14 and 40.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 40.
Read.
Let all things be done decently and in order.
All things are going to be done decently in order. Nobody's going to call in because we have 32 viewers online.
Hallelujah. Who's the power?
How's the power?
Who's the power?
How's the power?
Hashem.
Yahushua.
Hashem.
Yahushua.
Psalms 133 in the Hebrew. Repeat after me. Shayah. Amaiwa. Ladiwa. Hana. Ma. Toa. Wama. Nayawam. Shabbat. Akyam. Gam. Yechad. Kashaman. Hatawa. Ayel. Harash. Yerah. Ayel. Zakwan. Haran. Shayarah. Ayel. Bayah. Madewafiwa. Katol. Karmamwan. Shayarah. Ayel. Harayah. Tazayawan. Kaya. Sham. Tazawa. Yahweh. Abracha. Kayam. Iwalam. Bahasham. Amashiach. Yahushua. The water. Gamyah. Psalm 133 in English.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Most High commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Bahashim Mashak Yahushua, Amen.
Hallelujah.
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 Yahweh, before we in the name of Mashiach Yahushua, thank you for giving us another day, Yahweh. Thank you for giving us another day to keep the Wisdom Wednesday class, Yahweh. We ask that you feed us with your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Feed all those that's watching tonight with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Yahweh, and camp angels around us, continue having mercy upon us. Continue smiting the ones of the nation, Yahweh, and continue having loving compassion upon the whole house of Israel, Yahweh. Guide and protect us, heal us, and encamp your angels around those that's coming in tonight to keep to observe the class tonight, and watch over those that's watching via YouTube, Yahweh, tonight. All this we ask more than thee, Hashem, Hamashiach Yahushai, Kawarat Miyad, Man, Yeshabi, be seated. Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom. My name is Captain Amon Manoya, and I have next to me my powerful Shatar officer.
Shalom, Israel, Officer Akol.
And I got my powerful officer with me, Akol, with me tonight, hosting another Wednesday Wisdom class, week in and week out, consistently and consecutively. And tonight's topic, we're going to be going over the 12 tribes chart. We might even touch on some history and how it came about. We're going to be going over the 12 tribes chart and how and why do we call the so-called Haitians Levi? Predominantly, that's what we're on the side of the earth. Why do we call the so-called Jamaican man, Trinity man, man from Guyana, the Benjamites? Why do we call the so-called Black Americans, Judites, Mexicans, Issachar, Colombians, Asher, Naphtali, which is Argentina and Chile? How did we come up with this? Is this something that just man brought up? Or was this something that was according to the will and hand of the Most High? Because a lot of people, we really lost a couple viewers already. A lot of people, when they see this, That's when the demons show up. Why are we using the 12 tribes chart? The northern kingdom is in Africa. This is not true. This is false. It's fake. Ariel lied. Well, we're going to see if this correlates in the scripture because we're going to find out. Ariel wasn't the first one who had the 12 tribes chart. There was a man in the scriptures who had it first. A mighty prophet, a priest of God from the tribe of Levi. And we're going to show it through the scriptures tonight. Let's open up Colossians 3:17.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed.
While you down there, officer, start getting some images of native Seminole Indians, so-called indigenous Dominicans, and so-called Haitians in their witchcraft. Some images, some illustration.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And whatsoever ye do in word or deed.
The Heavenly Father say everything we say, everything that we do, read.
Do all by Hashem Mashiach Yahushua.
Do it in the name of the anointed Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Read.
Giving thanks to Yahweh.
Giving thanks to the power. Read.
And the Father by him.
And the Father by him. Because he sent Yahushua to reconcile Israel back to him because of our transgressions. He was cut off not for himself but for the children of Israel only. Only and forevermore. Like I said before, we're going to be going over the understanding of the 12 tribes chart, deciphering who's who on this side of the earth. We understand, I'm going to let this be known in the beginning of the class, we understand that the Israelites in the west coast of Africa, the Igbo, the Ewe, the Ga, the Akan, the Gullah Geechee. We understand that there's still Israelites in the continent, quote-unquote, continent of Africa. We understand that the Afro-Aryans could be descendants of the Israelites. We understand that the Sidis in India are Israel, descendants of the slaves. We understand this already. But the 12 tribes chart is dealing with predominantly where the children of Israel will be. Because the Most High tells us where they will predominantly be, and we're going to go through that in the scriptures. Give me Jeremiah 50:33. We're going to establish some things first. Jeremiah 50 and 33. You want to go to the prophet Micah. Jeremiah 50 and 33.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 33.
Read.
For thus, no, it's like it. That's 51. 50 and 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Thus saith the Adawan Tazabah, the Lord of hosts. Read.
The children of Israel.
The children of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, the so-called indigenous Hispanics, indigenous Native Americans, and indigenous Seminole Indians. Read.
And the children of Judah.
The so-called Negroes, Black Americans, so-called Haitians, so-called West Indians, all those who speak that dialect of Patois. Read.
Were oppressed together.
That they will be oppressed together in Babylon. This verse is not referring to ancient Babylon, it's referring to a new Babylon. Because according to the Bible and according to the scriptures, the text in the Holy Bible, the northern kingdom never went to Babylon. So it cannot be referring to ancient Babylon. It's referring to a whole new one. And it's going to be more illustrated perfectly through the prophet Micah. Let's get Micah 4 and 10. Let's get Micah 4 and 10.
The book of Micah, chapter 4 and verse 10. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion.
Read.
Like a woman in travail.
Like a woman in travail. Israel is this woman in travail. Read.
For now shalt thou go forth out of the city.
The Most High prophesied we will go forth from out of the city. This city is Jerusalem. It's Israel. We will be expelled out of Israel. So after we get expelled out of the land of Israel, where are we going to go after that?
And thou shalt dwell in the field.
The field. Where did the southern kingdom go? And the remnant that was with the southern kingdom predominantly go. They went to Africa, which is the field. Predominantly west coast of Africa. Read.
And thou shalt go even to Babylon.
And from the field, we're going to go where?
To Babylon.
To who?
To Babylon.
The same Babylon the northern kingdom will be in. Second Ezra's third time. The same Babylon will be redeemed from. We will go from, expelled from Israel. We'll go into Africa in various locations upon the earth. And then we'll be brought into Babylon. We'll come over here. Northern kingdom was here. The Heavenly Father said that this would happen. Let me get Psalms 55. Because the reason why we're doing this class together is because the Most High wants us to gather the saints. For too long, we've been dispersed as a people. Now it's time for us to gather ourselves together. It's time for us to understand who's our friends and who's our enemies. You can't go to war if you don't know who's your ally and who's your foes. Right now, we're in a spiritual war right now, and we need to know who's our allies. Let's get Psalm 15:5.
Come on. Give me 1 second. I don't have that page. My niece got to it. Psalms 50. The book of Psalms, chapter 50, and verse 5. Gather my saints together.
What was I saying?
Gather my saints together.
Say do what?
Gather my saints
The
together.
Most High commanded us to gather the saints together. Put them together. Because for too long we've been separated as a people. Read.
Unto me.
Unto who?
Unto me.
No, unto Captain Amon.
Unto me.
Unto Officer Barzal.
Unto me.
Unto the Most High. Read. To gather the saints unto the Most High. Read.
Those that have made a covenant with me
Those that made a covenant, read.
by sacrifice.
That was us in Exodus 24 who made the sacrifice with the Most High. It was us, the children of Israel. We're the saints, according to the Bible. And the Most High said for us to gather ourselves together. Well, He commanded us to go gather them. Now, what is He asking us now? Use Zephaniah 2:1. Now He's commanding us as a nation to gather together. So the so-called Haitian man can understand Black Americans is not your enemy. So the Haitian and Black American can understand the so-called Jamaican man is not your enemy. Negroes, the so-called Hispanic is not your enemy. Hispanics, so-called Native Americans and indigenous Native Americans is not your enemies.
Right.
We're the same people. Read it.
The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, and verse 1. Gather yourselves together,
Read.
yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
How are we going to gather together?
We don't know who we are. How are we going to gather together? Read.
Before the decree, bring
Before the
forth.
what?
Before the decree,
Before the order is given, read.
before the decree, bring forth.
Right.
Before the day pass.
Before the times continue passing, we don't know who's our friend and who's not. Read.
Before the day pass as a chaff.
Before the day passes the child. The reason why that Edomite boy was able to go into the church and shoot up all these Israelites is because they didn't know who was the saints and who was the devil. They didn't know who was the children of Israel and who was the devil the Bible speaks of. This is why it happened. Because we don't know who we are. And it's time for us to understand we are the 12 tribes of Israel. It's time for us to gather together. A lot of times the so-called Haitian man is clique. They're quick to link up. I think they're as tight as Issachar when they're amongst each other. But they always want to click up and come against the other tribes. So-called Mexican man want to click up and come against the other tribes. We shouldn't be coming up against each other. We should gather ourselves together as a nation. Because right now we get called different various names. That's not our God-given name that was given to us by the Most High. We get called Haitian, Jamaican, Black American, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Guatemalan, Honduras, Ecuadorian. We get called these various types, even the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Arab. We get called these different names as well. But that's a curse according to the scripture. Most High said this would happen. That's why we got to shed these names off of us. We need to shed away these titles. Deuteronomy 32:26. Everybody say come when you got Deuteronomy 32:26. So make sure we're going at the right pace. We need to start calling ourselves back into the tribe of Judah. Yahweh, Loya, Benjamin, Benjamin. We need to start claiming these titles and cast away this Haitian fever, Black American, blacked out fever, Jamaican fever, Yadman fever. We need to shed that away. That's not who the Most High called us to be. Go ahead and read it.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 26. I said,
What did the Most High say?
I would scatter them unto corners.
He said that He will scatter us into corners, various different locations upon the face of the earth. Read.
I would make the remembrance of them.
He will make what?
The remembrance of them.
The name of Judah.
The remembrance of them.
The name of Benjamin.
The remembrance of them.
The name of Ephraim.
The remembrance of them.
The name of Manasseh.
The remembrance of them.
The name of Dan.
The remembrance of them.
He said He will cause the remembrance of them, read,
To cease from among men.
to cease from amongst men. Now we won't be calling ourselves by the various 12 tribes of Israel. Some brothers want to discredit our brothers in the west coast of Africa, saying that the Igbos always been calling themselves Igbos. The Yorubas always been calling ourselves the Yorubas always been calling themselves Yorubas. Well, one thing we need to understand is when we was in the west coast of Africa, we wasn't saying I'm from the tribe of Judah.
Right.
I'm from the tribe of Ephraim. As a predominantly, who was it saying that? I'm from the tribe of Levi. Who was it saying that? We was calling ourselves by different names in the west coast of Africa, different names in Europe, different names in Asia, different names in the Middle East, different names once we got over here. There's still tribes amongst the northern kingdom who've never learned Spanish, who've never been conquered and been assimilated by the so-called white man, who still speak their indigenous tongues, who don't call themselves by the various northern kingdom tribes. They still call themselves Mapuche, the Kola tribes. They call themselves various names. And the Most High prophesies here. And he will cause the remembrance of us to cease amongst men. Give me Ezekiel 30, Daniel 12:4. He said that would happen. It's high time for us to understand it, acknowledge it, and move forward.
The book of
Daniel 12:4.
Daniel chapter 12 and 4, chapter 4.
Mm-hmm.
Sloppy. Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4.
Read.
But thou, O Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
shut up the words and seal the book,
Read.
even to the time of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Many shall run to and fro,
Also, I said, many too shall run through and fro. Read.
and knowledge shall be increased.
And what?
And knowledge shall be increased.
And knowledge shall increase. I believe a long time ago, Chief Priest Kamsar says it all the time. A lot of times, in a couple years back, they used to discredit our brothers that was still in West Coast of Africa, the remnant. They used to discredit all Israelites they didn't come that sign in the Western Hemisphere. They used to discredit them. Now knowledge is increasing, and we're realizing our people are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But predominantly, we're over here on this side of the earth. Predominantly. Most are breaking forth prophecies, understanding predominantly over here. Because predominantly, the prophets over here. Most I say here is the prophets of Babylon. Read that again. Read that part again for me.
Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book,
He says, seal the book. Read.
even to the time of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Many shall run to and fro.
Many shall run to and fro, because a couple years back, during the time of Ariyah, Marshall, Yaikwa, Albert Bivens, and these other pioneers, the Most High used to explode the word in this side of the earth. Read.
And knowledge shall be increased.
Knowledge was increased. We understood what was Israel, but now we had to go more in detail. What tribe you from? Which one of the 12 tribes you from? Because it wasn't by the will of Ariyah that we have this. It's by the will of the Most High that it happened. The 12 tribes has nothing to do with that elder, Ariyah. The Most High used it for works during his time, but it wasn't about him. It was about the Most High feeding us with more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as we come back. In these last days, the moment we get into our righteousness, the Most High is going to continue pouring us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and increase it. Because he said wisdom should increase.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is going to increase. The things that we thought we knew, we're going to have to refine them again. Relearn them. Look at it from different angles to get the bigger picture. And this is what the Most High is doing with this 12 tribes tribe. Because it goes back to the scriptures. 12 tribes tribe go right back in the scriptures. Ariel was the first. Give me Ezekiel 36. And we're going to show you that through the scriptures. Ezekiel 37 and 16. We're going to show you this through the scriptures before we go into how we identify the 12 tribes of Israel. How do we know?
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and verse 16. Moreover, thou son of man,
Right?
take thee one stick.
And we get there as well. Everybody there? Ezekiel 37 and 16. Ezekiel 37 and 16, okay? Let's read.
Moreover, thou son of man,
The son of man that we're being spoken to is Ezekiel, the mighty priest of the tribe of Levi during the Babylonian captivity. Read.
take thee one stick,
Take thee one stick. The stick represents rulership. Read.
and write upon it,
Right upon the stick, this board that he's referring to. When you go to the Hebrew, he's referring to a board. Read.
for Judah,
For Judah. Right on this board for Judah. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Read.
and for the children of Israel,
And for the children of Israel. Read.
his companions,
And for his what?
and for the children of Israel, his companions.
Right, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi on this board. Read.
Then take another stick,
And take another stick, the other kingdom.
and write upon it, for Joseph,
This was to represent Joseph, which we have right here. Read.
the stick of Ephraim,
Right? That represents the northern kingdom. He's giving Ezekiel the understanding to write this information on the board. Write down the house of Judah and his companion, which is Benjamin and Levi. Write down for Ephraim, the northern kingdom, and his companions, Manasseh, Dan, Reuben, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali. Write it down for their companions, which we have on this board right here. Read.
And for all the house of Israel, his companions,
Read.
and join them one to another
Join them together on this one board, this plank. Read.
unto one stick,
Read.
and they shall become one in thine hand.
They're going to be one nation in your hand. They're not separate no more. Read.
And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee,
Now, when we go out to camp, right, where do we usually have this 12 tribes chart? Where do we usually have this 12 tribes chart when we go to camp? Let's read it again. We're going to read a little bit more.
and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee,
Read it again from verse 17.
verse 17, and join them one to another,
We're going to have all 12 tribes of Israel on this one board. It's one plank. It's one stick. Read.
unto one stick,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall become one in thine hand.
One in our hand. One nation in our hand. Read.
And when the children of thy people shall
Mhm.
speak unto thee,
Now, when we go out there and teach our people, right? For those that go to camp, come.
God,
When we go out there, and the children of our people, what are they going to say to us?
saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these?
What do they tell us when they see this board?
Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest
Go
by
ahead,
these?
officer. You go ahead and read it. Right,
Okay,
say it
okay.
again.
Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these?
What is that on that board? What is Judah? Why you got black Americans, the N-words has Judah? Why you got Zoes has Levi? Why you got Chicanos as Mexicans? The Issachars as Mexicans? Why do you do? What is that? Give me the breakdown on that.
Right.
This is what this verse is illustrating. And we see it demonstrated when we go to camp. Read.
Verse 19,
Read.
saying to them,
What do we say unto them? Read.
thus saith the Most High Power.
Thus say unto who?
The Most High Power.
Don't we say thus say the most high when we go to camp?
Con.
Read.
Behold,
Behold,
I will take the stick of Joseph,
I will take the stick of Joseph, the northern kingdom, the Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, read,
which is in the hand of Ephraim,
read,
and the tribes of Israel,
read,
his fellows,
read.
and will put them with him,
I will put them with him, read,
even with the stick of Judah,
with the Judea, the southern kingdom, read,
and make them one stick,
make them one nation, which we have beautifully illustrated right here through the Spirit of the Most High. Read.
and they shall be one in mine
And they're
hand,
going to be one in who?
in mine
In
hand.
the hand of the Most High. Now, when we go through the scripture, who had this 12 tribes chart breakdown first? Was it Ariel or was it Ezekiel? It was Ezekiel. Ezekiel seen it first. But the Most High used Ariel as a vessel to really push it out forward. So Israel could know, okay, I have something to relate to. Yes, so-called Haitians are the Levites. So-called Judites are the black Americans. So-called Benjamites are the so-called Jamaicans. People from Guyana, Bahamas, Trinidad, Turks and Caicos. Now we have something to relate to because we are this people. And we're going to show you even further before we get into the class. Now, the Bible told us where they would be predominantly. The Bible gives us geographical location of where the 12 tribes would be. Predominantly. But for us to do this, we're going to need a world map of the Western Hemisphere. Let's get Revelation 7. Because we're going to go through a couple scriptures and we're going to go right into it. We're going to need a world map of the Western Hemisphere. You're going to need a world map of the Western Hemisphere. But those that's watching this video right now, pull up a map on your phone of the Western Hemisphere so you can follow along with us. Once you got it, put it up so I can see it as well. We're going to go to Revelation 7. We're going to go to Revelation, the 7th chapter. To show in Revelation, the 7th chapter, when the Most High is listing the 144,000, He's not listing them randomly for no reason. He's pointing out where geographically they would be in the Western Hemisphere in captivity. They're not listed for no reason, for now. There's a purpose on why He listed it the way He did. We're going to show you that through the Spirit of the Most High. I need you to zoom out a little bit more. Go up. No, I don't need Canada. Go down a little bit. There you go. Now zoom in a little bit more. Well, zoom out. That's a little too deep. That's too deep. Go up. Let's get Revelation 7 and 4.
The book of Revelations, chapter 7 and verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed.
Everybody there? Everybody there? Because people are going to ask you, 12 tribes chart is fake. How do you know the Israelites are over here? This is one way to show them. Predominantly, we here. Now let's read Revelation 7:4.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed.
Officer, get ready to make the mouse follow on points again, all right? Read.
And there were sealed 144,000.
The 144,000 represent the 12 tribes of Israel. 12,000 sealed elect men, the first fruits of the Most High, from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, making up 144,000 men. Read.
Of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Read.
Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000.
Where's Judah? For those of you that's following along with us, the only way you're gonna get a clear understanding, you gotta participate and follow along with us. Where's Judah located at? You guys can say it. Where?
United States.
Pay attention to how you numbers it. Judah's located in North America. Pay attention. Read.
Of the tribe of Reuben.
Where's Reuben located? Reuben located right here in North America. Now we see two tribes listed back to back, same location. Read.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Gad.
Where's Gad at? Now, is that a coincidence? We see the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad. Historically, where they found that? In America. Is this a coincidence? Let's continue.
Were sealed 12,000.
Right.
And of the tribe of Asher.
The tribe of who?
Of Asher.
Which is Brazil. Let's go down a little bit. Let's go down a little bit. The tribe of Asher, which is Brazil to Colombia, Uruguay. Zoom down a little bit. And make sure we find Uruguay too. Go down. It's probably a lot smaller. That's probably why it's not showing up. Oh, there it is, right here. Go back up. Go up. We see from Colombia, Brazil, go down, all the way to Uruguay is where the tribe of Asher is located. Remember, Northern Kingdom is not like JBL. The Northern Kingdom have 20, 25 children. Still to this day, no problems. In the Toyota van, no problems. Let's move on.
Of the tribe of Asher.
Of the tribe of Asher, which is Brazil, Colombia to Uruguay, read.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Naphtali.
Of the tribe of who?
Of Naphtali.
Who's next to Asher? Chile and Argentina, which is the tribe of Naphtali. From the west to the south of Central America, South America. Is this a coincidence? The brother, you look like you've seen a ghost. Let's continue reading.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Manasseh.
Of the tribe of Manasseh. Let's go back up. Right here. You going all the way to Canada.
Cuba.
Can't see that.
Cuba.
Go down up.
Yeah, zoom out.
I need to make a geography test now for the camp.
Yeah,
Zoom out. When you see Manasseh is located in the island of Puerto Rico, with Ephraim, which is the Taino and the Boico Indians, the two brothers. Let's continue reading.
Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Simeon.
Of the tribe of Simeon, where we at now?
Dominga.
Let's see who's with the Dominicans. The tribe of Simeon. Read.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Levi.
Who's next to the Dominican Republic? It's the so-called Haitians. Is this a coincidence? Let's continue reading.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Issachar.
Of the tribe of who?
Of Issachar.
Where we at? Mexico. Read.
Were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Zebulon.
Of the tribe of Zebulon. Who's right under Mexico? Zebulon. Guatemala, Panama, Ecuador, which is the Mayan Indians, is the Zebulonites. You can zoom out. We see that in Revelation 7. It's not coincidence. The Most High has given us geographical pinpoint, giving us geographical locations on where the 12 tribes were predominantly is at. Why can we not go all the way to Africa yet? To find Judah, to find Ephraim, to find Gad. Why not? Because if the Gadites are predominantly here, this is a sidebar conversation. If the Gadites are predominantly here in Africa, that means the Reubenites have to be predominantly with them. And that means the Judites have to be predominantly with them. That means, man, a lot of you brothers who say the Judah here, you guys are not the Judites. You guys might be Egyptians. Now let's go back. You can take the map off.
Yeah, we got Joseph and Benjamin.
You said I forgot Benjamin?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
All praises. We see it's not a coincidence that the way the Most High pinpoints it in Revelation 7. Right? It's not a coincidence. Because you leave the book of Revelation chapter 7, Deuteronomy 33, and Genesis 49 predominantly to be able to understand who the 12 tribes of Israel are. We're going to understand that today. We're going to go over to Genesis 49 right now. Let's get Genesis chapter 49. So we can understand who's who and why we say they are who they are.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, and verse 1.
Everybody get there? Everybody there?
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together.
What did he say?
Gather yourselves together.
Now, some brothers say that, brothers put a train of thought that Jacob was just speaking because he was drinking NyQuil. The instruction Jacob was about to give us is for predominantly the 12 tribes of Israel. In Haiti, you're not going to see 10% of Judah, 10% of Ephraim, 10% of Gad, 10% of Reuben, 10% of Zebulun, 10% of Asher. Predominantly, those Haitians make up the tribe of Levi. Predominantly, the so-called Jamaicans make up the tribe of Benjamin. Predominantly, the so-called Black Americans make up Judah. It's not 10% of each tribe within those lands. So when you see people say you don't really know what tribe is what, then they say Jacob was a false prophet. You don't know what the hell he was talking about. So when we come into this word, we need to cast away the foolishness and accept the scriptures for what it is. Read.
That I may tell you
Right?
that which shall befall you in the last days.
That what should befall him in the what?
In the last days.
Now Jacob was gathering his sons, all 12 of his sons together. And he's giving them set instruction on what would happen to them in the last days. What indicated the last days? What indicates the last days?
People waking up.
Let's get Hebrews 1:1. We enter a dispensation of time called the last days. Because is the actual man Judah alive today? Is the man Levi alive today? Is the man Asher alive today? Jacob is not referring to them. He's referring to the descendants that's going to come way after them in the last days. But first we need to understand, how do we know right now we're in the last days? How do we know we're in the last days? We've entered into the last days. Let's get Hebrews 1:1.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 1 and 1.
Read.
God, or the most Yahweh, who at sundry times
Right.
and in diverse manners spake in time past
Right.
unto the fathers by the prophets,
Unto the fathers by the prophets. Read.
have in these last days,
And these what?
last days,
And these who?
last days,
So we're going to find out what initiated the last days. Read.
spoken unto us
Spoken to us. Read.
by his Son.
When Yahweh entered upon the earth, revealed himself as the Messiah, we've entered into the dispensation of time called the last days. Was the actual man Judah alive during the time of Yahweh? Was he there during the siege of 70 AD to 73 AD? Was the man Benjamin who was there in the west coast of Africa? Was the man Ephraim amongst the so-called Puerto Ricans in the land of Puerto Rico? No. He's referring to the descendants that will come after them in these last days. What happened after Yahweh left the land of Israel? What happened to us? Luke 21:24. We have to go upon precept, line upon line. That's how the Bible's written. You need a piece here to understand this piece. And we're going to go from piece to piece. Come? Let's go to Luke 21:24.
Luke chapter 21 verse 24.
Mm-hmm.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword,
Right?
and shall be led away captive.
This is Yahweh prophesying the events of 70 AD to 73 AD. Us being expelled out of the land of Israel. Read.
Unto all nations,
We'll be scattered amongst who?
unto all nations.
Jacob's telling his sons what would happen to the descendants in these last days. Where would it be? Because we're scattered amongst all nations. Read.
And Jerusalem
And
shall,
Jerusalem
shall be trodden down
Right.
by the Gentiles.
That we would be sieged, destroyed, second temple destroyed and burned down, going into captivity, being put to death by the so-called white man in the hands of the other nations. Let's go back to Genesis 49 more.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, and verse 2. Gather yourselves together, hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
So Jacob's last words is going to be these instructions and give unto his sons. So like I said before, when people say that there's 10% of each tribe in one location, they're all mixed up like a ragu sauce. Jacob is a false prophet. The Most High did not know what he was doing to give him this instruction to give to us in these last days. Equate that with that statement. So he's about to tell us right now in these last days where is the descendants going to be and what conditions they're going to suffer. And we're going to identify them soon. Let's read.
Verse 3. Reuben.
Who did he say?
Reuben.
Who?
Reuben.
Who?
Reuben.
Reuben. Or Ra'abam. See, it's a boy. It's what his name means in Hebrew. Reuben, read.
Thou art my firstborn.
Reuben is the firstborn of Israel. Reuben is the so-called Seminole Indians. Let's get an illustration now. You should have had like these 3 or 4 illustrations on me ready. Read it again.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn.
Reuben is the firstborn of the man Jacob, our father Israel. Reuben make up the Seminole Indians, which were scattered throughout Florida, predominantly around the Everglades as well, which suffered the first and second Seminole War against the so-called white man. Read. Give me a picture of the Seminole Indians wearing their warlike apparel, their michis, because they were known for wearing michis. Read.
My might and the beginning of my strength.
The Most High said through the spirit of Jacob, that Reuben is the might, his first strength. Why? Because the Seminole Indians was not like Native Americans, a lot of the Native Americans. They were people ready for action. In ancient times, Reuben, Manasseh, and Gad was the top fighters. The Most High knew we wouldn't go over the land of Jordan, the river of Jordan, unless we have these 3 with us. And Reuben was one of them. Reuben was known for fighting against the so-called white man and guerrilla warfare and within the Everglades. Read.
The excellency of dignity.
The excellency of dignity because why? Of how they adorn themselves. Reuben wasn't running around with no shirt in boxers. Reuben would wear his mitri with his feather like we have Osceola on the left. They would wear their mitris, their war mitris, with the little feather on top. With their breastplate, their silver, their jewelry, ready for action. Read.
And the excellency of his power.
The excellency of whose power?
Of power.
Of power. Of the power of the Most High. Read.
Unstable as water.
They were what?
Unstable as water.
They're unstable as water. This is another image of the so-called Seminole Indian man, the Reubenite, wearing his famous michi. They were known for wearing michis amongst the natives of this land. Gad wasn't rocking the michis like now Reuben was rocking the michis. Let me get First Chronicles 5 and 18 as well, before we continue. First Chronicles 5 and 18. Let's see what the Most High says about Reuben. Because a lot of times we don't see Reuben as much to interact with them. In Florida. Because the Most High pushed them far from the border.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 5, verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
The sons of Reuben.
The sons of who?
Of Reuben.
Of who?
Of Reuben.
The Seminole Indians. Read.
And the Gadites.
The Gadites, the Native Americans.
And the half tribe of Manasseh.
Which is the Taino Indians. Read.
Of valiant men.
They were what?
Valiant men.
No, they were just redskins.
Valiant men.
They were just savages.
Valiant men.
They were valiant men. Read.
Men able to bear buckler.
They were ready to what?
Bear buckler.
They knew how to hold the shield. Read.
And sword.
And the what?
And sword.
The modern day sword is the strap. They knew how to hold the strap. They knew how to hold the sword. Read.
And to shoot with bow.
And to shoot the what?
And to shoot with bow.
They could shoot a fly off top of your head with a bow and arrow. Read.
And skillful in war.
And skillful in war. A lot of times you think when Judah and Levi link up, it's problems. When the Reubenites link up, you have Judah and Levi running off in 2 different directions. They were known for fighting and going to war. Let's go back.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Unstable as water.
Unstable as waters because why? Seminole means Seminole. They get the term Seminole because they were always on the run from the so-called white man in the marshes. They were always on the run to and fro from the so-called white man. Really?
Thou shalt not excel.
They would not excel. This is why you see that they only get these small communities in Florida. To be honest, I spent 25 years in Florida. I never knew there was a Seminole Indian community down here in Hollywood, Florida. Until 2 weeks ago. I never knew that. You don't see them like that because the Most High didn't allow them to excel. We're going to find out why. Read.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed.
Because they did what?
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed.
Now let's get this account. Genesis 35:22. The Most High said he wouldn't allow them to excel as a tribe because of what the actual man Reuben did. We're going to find out what he did to cause his descendants not to excel. Because they were a mighty tribe. We had mighty men amongst the Seminole Indians. Like Osceola. Like we had King Philip, Chief Alligator, Halleck, Alec Tiger Tail. These are famous men amongst the Seminole Indians. We had them amongst them. But they still was defeated by the so-called white men. They were still casted off far from their land. Read.
Genesis 35 and 22. Read. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in the land, in that land,
right,
that Reuben went.
That who?
That Reuben went.
That Reuben went. What did the man Reuben do?
And lay with Bilhah.
And did what?
And lay with Bilhah.
Who was Bilhah?
His father's concubine.
His father's concubine, which would make that his what? That would make that his mother. He committed adultery and he committed that's a deep level fornication. Mm-hmm. To look at your old stepmother that way and sleep with her. That's a deep level of fornication. Because the actual man who committed this type of fornication, the Most High did not allow him to excel, his descendants to excel. Let's go back to where he was at.
Genesis 49 verse 4.
Read.
Towards the ending. It says, then defilest thou it.
Mm-hmm.
He went up to my couch.
He went up to what? Commit fornication. Because of this, he did not excel. But does that mean that's all for the nation? That's all for the tribe of Reuben? That they're no longer around? That the Most High will not forgive them for what their forefather Reuben did? Let's get Deuteronomy. Because there's a lot of history that goes into the 12 tribes chart. A lot of history that goes on to each individual tribe. Each tribe can easily get 6 hours of video. Easily. With a lot of history. But we're giving you the surface understanding. Let's get Deuteronomy 33:6. Let's see what the Most High said about Reuben.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 6. Let Reuben live.
What did he say? Do what?
Let Reuben live.
Let Reuben who?
Let Reuben live.
Because when Andrew Jackson was coming against the Seminole Indians, they needed this blessing. They needed this blessing. Because he was known, I believe he was known for the Seminole, he was known as the Seminole killer, Indian killer. Because they were on a hunt for Reuben. Because Reuben would not give up the fight to let them have Florida. Read.
And not die.
And let them not what?
And not die.
And let them not die. Even though we don't see them predominantly, guess what? I'm going to give you a fun fact. A lot of you brothers who claim you're Judah, a lot of you could be Reuben. A lot of you could be Gad. Because the Judites, a lot of times they would run and go be with who? Run from Sabas and go to Reuben and Gad and have children amongst them. A lot of you could be Reuben and Gad. You could be Reuben, brother. You know, they come. All praises. And once I say let Reuben live, let's go back to who was that. There's more to that? No.
It's a little bit more. And let not his men be few.
And let not the tribe of Reuben diminish. Let's go back.
Genesis 49 and verse 5. Simeon and Levi.
You said who?
Simeon and Levi.
You said who?
Simeon and Levi.
Let's get a picture of Simeon real quick. Let's find out who Simeon is. Let's get a quick illustration of Simeon. See, Simeon and Levi. We're about to go to Jacob's favorite son. You gotta find me a more warlike picture of my brother.
Oh, got you. That's what could have.
Simeon is the twin brother of Levi. I can't let you destroy my twin image like that. Now, we see that the Seminole Indians, the indigenous Indians and Negroes of Dominican Republic is the tribe of Simeon.
They make up the tribe of Simeon. I need another illustration.
I got you. Better one. More like.
I need another illustration of the Simeon of the so-called Simeonites. The Simeonites make up the Dominicans. Come.
You said that was Israel's favorite son, Simeon?
No. We're gonna get to his favorite son. Trust me. You know who he is, right? You know who he is. We're gonna get there. But even though that's his favorite son, personally, I'll speak as a man. They receive probably the most curses out of the 12. I just need another illustration, but we're going to continue. The so-called Dominicans, which make up the tribe of Simeon, read.
Simeon and Levi are.
Simeon and who?
And Levi.
And what?
And Levi.
And who?
And Levi.
Jacob's what?
And Simeon and Levi.
Why don't we get another reader? And Levi are what?
Our brethren.
Now let me get an image of Levi. The so-called Levites are the so-called Haitians, found predominantly in Haiti. A lot of them came from Togo, Senegal, and Benin, and the Congo regions of Africa. A lot of them are the Airway tribe that was predominantly brought to Haiti. We see that the so-called Haitian man, the Negroes of Haiti, is the tribe of Levi. One of the most famous Levites in the land of Haiti is Jean-Jacques Dessalines, which ushered in the 1804 revolution. Now let's continue with Genesis 49. About them. Simeon and Levi are what?
Our brethren.
Are who?
Our brethren.
Now why did Jacob have to separate and isolate Simeon and Levi? Aren't all 12 tribes brethren? Now why did he say Simeon and Levi are brothers, like the other ones are not his brothers? Let's get a map of Hispaniola. As we go through Genesis 49, you can go ahead and just get images of the tribes ahead of time, so you don't have to install with it. Let's get an image of Hispaniola, because we're going to see something special between Simeon and Levi. There's a reason why it stresses that they're brethren, right? Even in Revelation 7, after they listed Simeon, who did it list after that? Levi. They'll be together. Now the reason why it says, I want you to circle around it too. Circle around, yes. The reason why the Most High stresses through Jacob that they're brothers is because they will be inhabiting the same location in these last days, which we see beautifully on this map. The Dominican Republic, which is the land where the Simeonites are located, and Haiti, which is predominantly where the so-called Haitians are at, the Levites. That they will be brethren located on the same island. Read.
Instruments of cruelty.
Instruments of what?
Of cruelty.
Of who?
Of cruelty.
Of what?
Of cruelty.
What is the instrument of cruelty? It's the high level of witchcraft that will be done in that island. Dominicans are known for Santeria, but the so-called Levites they excel them with their witchcraft in that land of Haiti. The parts that do the most witchcraft in the land of Africa is where you find the so-called Levites at predominantly. The Levites do heavy witchcraft upon the face of the earth. That's the instrument of cruelty the Most High said that they will be doing. Read.
Are in their habitations.
Are in their habitations where they dwell. Read.
O my soul.
O my soul. Read.
Come not thou into their secret.
Come not down to the secret. This is the level of witchcraft that they do. They don't worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They want to worship these false other gods, which is Baal Samdi, Papa Lemba, Ogwefea, which is the name of these other gods in the voodoo and the practices of voodoo and Haiti. This is what they want to do. This is the instruments of cruelty that I'm referring to. Having drink offerings to the left-hand side. Giving meal offerings to the left-hand side. Read.
Unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united.
The Most High said, be not what?
Thou united.
This is why you see there's so much conflict between the so-called Dominicans and Haitians. They're twin brothers. They're best brothers. But now you see them what? Me no black, me no black. The Hispanics are white people. That's what Haitians say. They call them blood. If you tell your mother you getting a Dominican, they're going to tell you want them to eat you. They want them to cut you up. The Most High say, be not thou united. Let's find out why. Read.
For in their anger they slew a man.
Because in their anger they slew a who?
A man.
They slew a man. Let's find out who this man was. Because they did this in ancient times, the Most High said, be not thou united. The so-called white man knows this. This is why he plays a monopoly and keeping the so-called Dominican man and Haitian man separated. In America, do you ever see me? I haven't seen this yet. I can't list 7. Maybe if a brother can, post it in the chat. The challenge is list 7 so-called Haitians you see get gunned down by police in America and put on Channel 7 News. Name 2 Haitians you see the police slam on the floor and execute them publicly. You're not going to see that. So-called white men understand the spirit of the Levites. He understands the spirit of the Dominicans. Certain things you could do with the other tribes you can't do with these 2. Let's read it. Let's find out why he said they can't be united. Let's go into the reference. Genesis 34 and 25.
Genesis chapter 34 and verse 25.
Everybody there? Come on. Everybody say come on, you there. There's a reason why they can't be united. In ancient times they were united. Now they're separated, they're divided. Come on, read.
Genesis 34 and 25.
We're going to read all this verse 29. Read.
And it came to pass
And it came to pass, read.
on the 3rd day, when they were sore.
Now this is referencing back when the Hamite slept with the daughter of Israel, which is Dinah. Because this happened, the Hamite and his father, I forgot his name. I forgot his name. The Hamite and his father came to Jacob. Like it? Sorry? Hamor. Came unto Jacob asking and pleading to have an dowry for his son to marry Dinah after he laid him. Jacob, because of the shame that Dinah brought on him, he was stuck in words. But Simeon and Levi, they were heated about this. They were on 144,000 degrees. They didn't want to see this happen. So what he did was make a slick proposal. They caught them in craftiness. They said, if you want to marry our sister, you have to have all the males circumcised. Now, what does it mean when you circumcise? You cut off the foreskin of your privy member. In ancient times, they didn't have anesthesia. During the time of Joshua, they used sharp stones to cut it off. So it's going to hurt for a couple of days, a week or 2. So let's continue reading.
And it came to pass on the 3rd day, when they were sore, the 2 of the sons of Jacob.
The who? How many?
The 2.
The what?
The 2.
The who?
The 2.
They didn't say an army, they said militia, they said guerrilla warfare. They said the 2 men. 2 men, read.
Of the sons of Jacob.
Of the sons of Jacob, which is Levi and Simeon, read.
Simeon and Levi. Dinah's brethren.
Right.
Took each man his sword.
Took each man his what?
His sword.
His sword, read.
And came upon the city boldly.
Came upon the city what?
Boldly.
This is the indigenous Simeonites. The indigenous Dominicans in the land of Dominica. Men of war, read.
And slew all the males.
What did they do?
And slew all the males.
They slew all of the men without mercy. Read.
And they slew Hamor and Shechem.
They slew Hamor and his son Shechem. Read.
His son with the edge of the sword.
Read.
And took Dinah out of the Shechem.
They took her sister out of that city from these Hamites. Read.
Out of Shechem's house.
Read.
And went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slave and spoiled the city.
They took everything that was in that city. 2 men. Nowadays, men can't even fight for 1 minute without getting tired and needing a Powerade or a Gatorade.
Right.
2 men went to a city and killed all these men in that city and took everything they got. Read.
Because they had defiled their sister.
Because they defiled their sister. This is what the Most High said, curse be them in their anger. Curse be them in anger. Because when a Levite is angry, right? Me, based off experience, I'm a Levite. When a Levite is angry and they do witchcraft, they're not going to tell them not putting voodoo on you. They're going to put voodoo on your daughter. They're going to put voodoo on your son. They're going to put voodoo on your newborn. That's how they move when they're in their anger. Read. Let's go back to where it was at. In Genesis 49.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 6. O my soul, come not thou unto their secret.
The Most High said, oh my soul, come not down in secret. Read.
Unto their assembly.
Come into their assembly. Read.
Mine honor be not thou united.
Because the honor of the Most High is not there when they do witchcraft. It's not there. The Most High said, be not thou united. Read.
For in their anger they slew a man.
They slew Shechem and Hamor. Read.
And in their self-will they dig down a wall.
They dig down the wall. Read.
Cursed be their anger.
The Most High said, cursed be their anger. Read.
For it was fierce.
For it was what?
For it was fierce.
For it was fierce. Read.
And their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob.
The Most High said he would divide them in Jacob. Who did he divide in Jacob? It's twofold. Not only did he separate the so-called Dominicans and the Haitian men from each other, but you have the so-called Haitian men scattered amongst the various cities in the land of Israel. And today, you have Haitians in black Black American communities. You have a small community of Haitians amongst Hispanics in Mexico. You have a small amount of Haitians in Brazil, the community. You have a small amount of Haitians in Canada. And everywhere you go, you see the 12 tribes of Israel, just know there's one community of Haitians there amongst all 12 tribes, just like in ancient times. Just like it was prophesied here. It came to me this year. I actually have family in Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and Mexico. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I have close relatives that stay in these locations. I've been staying there for years. You have Levites scattered amongst all 12 tribes of Israel. But not only that, the Most High gave the Levites more curses that will point them out for us to know that they're the so-called Haitian men. Let's go Malachi. Go look at Malachi chapter 2. Malachi chapter 2. Let's go to the additional curses the Most High gave to the tribe of Levi. You know that?
Yeah. Malachi 2.
Start from verse 1.
Malachi chapter 2 and verse 1. And now, O ye priests.
O ye who?
O ye priests.
O ye what?
O ye priests.
Who are the priests? They were the priests. All the priests, and they will be the priests in the kingdom of heaven. Read.
This commandment is for you.
This order, this instruction that the Most High is about to give is to the Levites. So-called Haitian man. Read.
If ye will not hear,
Mm-hmm.
and if ye will not lay it to your heart,
Mm-hmm.
if ye will not lay it to heart, to give glory unto my name,
Right.
said the Most High of hosts,
Right.
I will even send a curse upon you.
The Most High said he will send a curse upon the Levites. We know that they received the curse of Deuteronomy 28, but there's a more curses the Most High gave them in Malachi chapter 2. And we're going to see why Haiti is so poor. Why they go through the things they go through. It's written right here. Read.
And I will curse your blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Yea, I have cursed them already.
The Most High said, just when you think you had a plan, you thought the King of Kings was going to help you, you just find out I just cursed you, they took away your money. Read.
Because ye do not lay it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I will corrupt your seed,
The Most High said he will corrupt their children as well. Read.
and spread dung upon your
He said
face.
he will bring shame upon their face. This is why you see when Haitians started coming here. I know you've been living in Florida for a while, right, brother? For how long? 20 years. You're doing what? The 80s and
2000. Maybe 2000.
2000?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm tripping. That's how you know I'm in the spirit. Now, when Haitians started coming here a lot, you people always tell them like they what? They eat cat.
Yeah.
And some of these muskies, the Haitians. Right, the Haitians, there's the reason why there's no cats in the communities, the Haitians, they eat them. Right, don't talk to Haitians, they voodoo. You look like a Haitian. You don't even know what a Haitian is, but you look like a Haitian. The Most High said he will spring dung upon their face. It's written right here. Read.
Even the dung of your solemn feasts.
Mm-hmm.
And one shall take you away with it, and ye shall know that I have sent this commandment unto
The
you.
Most High said when you see these curses that he's about to list happen, you're going to know it was the Most High who did this to the so-called Haitian man. Read.
That my covenant might be with Levi,
Mm-hmm.
said the Most High of hosts.
Mm-hmm.
My covenant was with him of life and peace.
Because the Levites were the ones that showed the Most High that they were more devoted to the Most High than the other tribes when they were worshiping the cattle. They're the ones who stood up first to go to the right hand of Moses. Read.
I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me.
Because we showed the Most High, we fear the Most High by our devotion to the Most High. This is why he gave us the everlasting covenant of the priesthood. Read.
And was afraid before my name.
Mm-hmm.
The law of truth was in his mouth.
The law was given to us to administer to the other tribes. Read.
And iniquity was not found in his lips.
Mm-hmm.
He walked with me in peace and equity,
Mm-hmm.
and did turn many away from iniquity.
Because at ancient time, it was our job to teach them to come back to the Most High. This is why you see Levites, when they're in all these religions, their head is hard like stone in these religions. Imagine that in the righteous hand side. When you come to them, tell them, let's go buy some candy on the Sabbath day. You have the whole tribe of Levi snapping on you, cursing you out. Then you thus say the Most High, you going on. This is how that spirit they used to move in. Read.
For the priest's lips should keep knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and they should seek the law in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
For he is the messenger of the Most High of hosts.
This is what they were supposed to do. This is the spirit they was moving in. But now what's happening? Read.
But ye are departed out of the way.
But this, they want to do voodoo. They want to do witchcraft. They want to serve idols. Read.
Ye have caused many to stumble at the law.
Because the Levites were supposed to teach the people, be the example. Their wives are supposed to be an example of submission. An example of submission to the husband and the Most High. Now because the women is bugged, Levite women bugged out, the other tribe women is bugged out. Because the Levite men don't want to stand up and be the priests of God, now the other tribes are jacked up. Read.
Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi,
Mm-hmm.
said the Most High of Hosts.
Read.
Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the
He
people.
said, because you did this, now I'm going to make you the most disrespected amongst the people, amongst all 12 tribes of Israel. You're going to be the base at a low status upon the face of the earth. When you look at the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, it's Haiti. And it correlates right here with the scripture. Read.
According as ye have not kept my ways.
According to, we have not kept the ways of the Most High. The Most High prophesies that Haiti will be in a low stature. There will be a mockery amongst the other 12 tribes of Israel. This is why you still see Levite jokes in the truth. You know, personally, I don't take no offense to it because I know it's because of my forefathers' disobedience. This is why we have to go through it. Because in ancient Israel, you didn't do that. Because he was a representative of the Most High. It's like you cursing out Elijah or Yahusha. They come in the name of the Most High. Levites come in the name of the Most High. You don't know if fire is going to come down on you. Let's get Deuteronomy 38, 33, and 8, and we're going to move on to the next tribe. You got a question, brother?
I remember I read before that, you know, people, the tribes back then, they was excited. They would have riches and all sorts of types of glory, but they would feel incomplete without a Levite in their establishment. I mean, they'll feel like, man, okay, I'm good now. As long as they got a Levite in their establishment, they feel like they connected to the most, you know, to the Most High and all this.
Let me tell you something. You know, I don't want no cool against you. This is why you see Levi name is what? Join unto the Most High. They're like the symbolic bridge to the Most High. Now we have Yahushua we go directly to. In the kingdom of heaven, priesthood is coming back. Priesthood is coming back. The temple coming back. Sacrifice is coming back. Right now, the Most High put us on timeout. In ancient times, because Levi was moving in a respectable manner. You didn't see them having never combing their hair, not presenting themselves accordingly, smoking weed, pants below their behind, don't know how to pronounce an A or a B. You didn't see the Levites moving that way. You didn't see their children getting locked up in prison. They moved in order, in the fear of the Most High, and they were an example to the other tribes. Now Levites don't want to be the example. They don't want to step it up. You know, they don't want to stand out and be in the front lines and tell the people to come back. Now they're not as respected as before. They don't get the same glory as before. I'm sorry?
They call it the shithole.
Exactly. This is why John Luther called it the escort. Right? Because the Levites didn't step it up. Now the Most High put them on a low level. You didn't appreciate when you was here. Now you're going to be down here. This is why you see. And a lot of times when you see Levites wake up in the truth, they get to work. They excel with their understanding of scriptures. They quote scriptures quick. Because in ancient times, that was their job. That's all they knew in ancient times. Now they forgot it. Now they want to play 2K. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33.
Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 8. And of Levi, he said.
who?
Of Levi.
And of Levi. Read.
He said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim
He said, let thy Thummim and Urim, read,
be with thy holy one.
Now the Urim and Thummim, does anybody know what that is? The Urim and Thummim. Go ahead.
Well,
You can take it down right now for the images right now.
I remember, but that's it's like not a crystal ball, but it's like
I just want to see the chat. That's all.
it's something like a window. It's a what did I?
You close, brother.
Yeah, it's like the internet, right? That's what they use to get through the internet.
You say like that's like the internet. In a way, yeah, in a way.
Okay. I really
Yeah.
don't remember, but that's what they used in like the Most High showed them something like prophets. That's what they saw.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Now the Urim and Thummim was something to use to discern matters and situations and to get an answer from the Most High. That's not the Urim and Thummim. That's the breastplate. You can take it down. Yeah, that's the breastplate. See, that's why you know I'm a real Levite. I know what that is. Now the Urim and Thummim was 2 stones. Right? Thummim means perfection or complete. Urim means lights. The Urim and Thummim was 2 stones that was on Aaron's garment. That would be used to discern matters. If somebody had an issue, right? Let's say, for example, you committed murder. I'll give you an example. You committed murder, brother. We don't know if you did it or not. The judges don't know. The officers don't know. The captains don't know. I'm a priest of God. I come up, I see, I got the answer. I'm going to find this out. I get the Urim and Thummim. I praise the Most High. Most High give me the answer. Con or lie if you did it or not. And then that would be it, right? From right there and then. Case closed.
This is what the Urim and Thummim represented. It represented discernment, a connection to the Most High. Let's read that again.
Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And Levi, he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy holy
He
ones.
said, let your connection, your discernment be with the Most High. This is why you see a lot of times Haitians got such a conviction, especially in this word, when they serve the Most High. Read.
Whom thou didst prove at Massah,
Mm-hmm.
and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah.
Right? Because that's when we had the issue with the golden calf. Read.
He said unto his father
Mhm.
and to his mother,
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen him.
He have not what?
I have not seen
When you
him.
go back to this account, we did not say that. I have not seen him. We didn't say that. We killed the wolves that stood still about this calf business. We're going to get a little understanding. Because you notice, we're going to get an understanding why the scripture says this. Read.
Neither did he acknowledge his brethren.
That did he what?
Acknowledge his brethren.
Not only did he not acknowledge his brother in wickedness, but in modern day times, read.
Nor knew his own children.
Now, when you see the tribe of Levi, so by Haitian man, right? Don't you always see that they're kind of like, how can I say it? They're kind of prejudiced against other tribes. The minute two Haitians link up, they don't want to talk to Benjamin no more, they don't talk to Judah no more. They all click up. You don't see the Haitians, so-called Haitians link up. They don't, read that verse again. So we're going to get a little understanding.
Neither did he acknowledge his brethren.
Right?
Nor knew his own
They're
children.
not going to acknowledge the other tribes. That's why you always see they're quick to link up. Right now, Levi's at the all-time low, but they think they're better than all the other tribes. They're just so over-righteous than other tribes. Most I said they're not going to acknowledge your brother. They're not going to really want to be around Judah like that. They're not going to want to be around Benjamin like that. They're going to be amongst Levi, marry Levi, talk Levi, eat Levi, and etc. Now let's continue reading.
For they have observed thy word
Mm-hmm.
and kept thy covenant.
Read.
They shall teach Jacob thy judgment.
Let's jump down to verse 11. Then we'll go right back to Genesis 49.
Verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
Bless Yahweh, his substance.
The most I say blessed substance, that's dealing with the sugar cane, the coffee that we outproduced the world in ancient times in Haiti. At one point, Haiti outproduced the world in sugar cane, in sugar. Read.
And accept the work of his
And
hands.
accept the works of his hands that he put in laboring. Read.
Smite through the loins
What
of
did he
them. Smite through the loins of them that arise
So most I say smite through the loins of them that rise against who?
against him.
What is this referring to? The 1804 revolution. The 1804 massacre. That the Haitians under Jean-Jacques Dessalines, under Christophe Henry, under Toussaint Louverture, dominated the French and expelled them out of the land of Haiti. They smited through the loins of hate them. And you see, read.
And of them that hate him,
Right? That they wouldn't do it. They don't do what?
that they rise not again.
That you see, France is not a superpower like it was before. Ever since Haiti defeated them and embarrassed them upon the face of the earth, they were crippled as a superpower. They never rose up again, like how they did before. This is how we know the so-called Haitian man is the so-called is the Levites. This is how we know the Dominicans is the Simeonites. This is how we know the Reubenites is the Seminole Indians. Let's go back to Genesis 49. Let's continue on to the next chapter.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Judah,
What did he say?
Judah,
What did he say?
Judah,
Judah, which is Yahweh. Yahweh praises or thanks. Read.
thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
She said, Judah is whom thy brethren shall praise. What does it mean when you praise somebody?
Happy, honored, lifting them up.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a
Exactly. You exalting them.
Yeah.
The Most High says the Judites is who all the other tribes are going to exalt and give praises. Right? The Judites are the so-called Black Americans. I'm surprised no Judah said Judah in the chat yet. I'm surprised. The Judites are the so-called Black Americans that came to the land of America in slavery. The Most High said that they will show what? Let's read that again one more time. Let's read it one more time for our Judite brothers.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall
He
praise.
said, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise. When you look at the best dancers amongst the 12 tribes, who is it? You scared to say it. The children of Saul scared to say it. It's the Judites.
Nah, he was trying to say Chris Brown for a
I
second
was.
there.
It's the Judites. So-called Black Americans excel in dancing. When you look at singing and rapping, who excels the most? Who has the favor? So-called Black Americans. Who has the favor in how we dress? fashion, so-called Black Americans. Who ushered in the civil rights movement? And you see other tribes start coming here now. So-called Judahites. Who excels in leadership skills? They do excel in leadership skills. Levites right there toe-to-toe with them. But Judah excel in that. The Most High say, you're the ones your brothers will praise. And we see that through the Judahites, the spirit of the Judahites. They're going to be exalted more than the other tribes. This is why you see in the scriptures, I'm not even going to go to this prophecy. The Most High say Judah shall fight first in Jerusalem. They're the ones that's going to usher in this fight. We're going to follow after them. And we see that spirit amongst the Judahites, so-called Black Americans in this land. Let's get, is there more to that?
Come.
Let's continue.
Thy head shall be in the neck of thine
He
enemies.
said, thy hand should be in the neck of thy enemies. You're going to be right here in the front lines within the land of your enemies. You see the Black Americans, they never revolted yet. The other tribes, they had their fights with the white man. Hey, and Levites, he kicked out the French. You see, the so-called Black Americans have not done that yet. They're not going to do it to their leader, their chief captain, Yahushua, come and lead the greatest revolution on the face of the earth. They're right here in the neck of their enemies, learning the ways of the so-called white man. This is why you see the so-called Negroes are the most destroyed mentally. But the so-called Levites are destroyed and they're living conditions out of all 12 tribes of Israel. That's why you see Judah so stiff. The head is so stiff. If Judah would have woken up and stand up for the Most High, the other tribes would have soon followed after. But because Judah is in an all-time low, the other tribes are still asleep. But let's continue reading.
Thy father's children
Thy father's children, which is the other tribes, read.
shall bow down before thee.
They shall what?
Shall bow down before thee.
What does it mean? We're going to acknowledge Judah. We're going to uplift them for what the Most High blessed them with. And not only that, the kings came out of who? The adored kings came out of who?
Judah.
The Judah. King David came from Judah. Solomon came from Judah. Josiah, Asa, Hezekiah, they came from Judah. Read.
Judah, verse 9. Judah is a lion's whelp.
He's a lion's whelp. He was a young lion back in the day with the Black Panther Party. When the so-called white man say something, he used to slap the white man up and then run back to his house. And nobody tells no case against him. He was a young lion. He stood up for righteousness. Read.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Read.
He stood down. He stooped down. He couched as a lion.
He couched as a lion. He was a young lion, full of aggression, full of energy. This is a perfect illustration. This was Judah in his prime. This was Judah in his prime. When you look at a lot of the old One West videos, those eldership in One West, those were Judah. A lot of these brothers you see that's teaching, yelling at the so-called white man, the pioneers of this explosion of the truth, they're from the tribe of Judah. Read.
And as an old lion.
Now they've become a what?
An old lion.
Now they've become an old lion. Read.
Who shall rouse him up?
Moses said, who's going to rise him up? Who's going to make Judah remember his past role? Who's going to make her remember he's the head tribe of Israel? Tribes follow after. Moses said, who's going to help him remember? Because we're not going to get ready to attack the so-called white man. We're not going to be ready to go to war until they wake up. Until they rise up and take position. Just like the Levites got to take position over the law and the priesthood, they need to take position over the leadership again. They need to take back their authority. Give me Zechariah 9 and 13. We'll one more scripture, we'll move on to the next slide. Zechariah 9 and 13.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 9 and verse 13. When I have, say come when you have it.
Say come when you have it. 9 and 13. Everybody got Zechariah 9 and 13? Come? Take your time. A lot of times people make fun of Judah, but they don't know Judah's the one that everybody will bow down to. No matter how much Judah jokes you do, you waiting for a Judite to come save you. Out of this captivity, you waiting for a Judite to bow down to the kingdom of heaven. All right, go ahead and read that.
Book of Zechariah, chapter 9 and verse 13.
Read.
When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim.
Now slow down, read that again.
When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim.
Stop. The Most High is giving an example similar to. He said when he bent Judah like a bow, Judah's like a gun, but he don't got no bullets and he don't got no clipping. He said when you take Judah and ready him up like a bow, you stretch your bow back. But a bow is useless by itself.
We need the so-called Negro. Read. And bent the what?
And filled the bow with Ephraim.
And filled the bow with Ephraim, which is the Hispanics. Read.
And raised up thy sons.
And raise up thy sons. Raise up the Judites. Raise up the Ephraimites. The leaders of the two kingdoms. Read.
O Zion, against thy son, O Greece.
He's going to raise us up. Then he's going to raise us up to go against the so-called white man. Until Judah wake up, we're not ready yet to go to war with them. Because that's the head tribe that's going to fight. That's going to have to fight first. Give me Deuteronomy 33. And we're going to go back to Genesis 49. Give me Deuteronomy 33 and 7. You can take that down. Keep the chat scroll down, Dr. Shah.
Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 7.
Yeah.
And this is the blessing of Judah.
This is the what?
The blessing of Judah.
This is the blessing of Judah. Read.
And he said, hear, O Adonai, the voice of Judah.
They said for the other tribes to hear the what?
The voice of Judah.
So they hear the voice of Judah. Because when you look at when the truth was exploded, because we had the commandment keepers. We had Rabbi Wentworth. We had Rabbi Matthew. We had, what's his brother's name that was approved? Brother Ezekiel, a Peruvian brother. That was teaching our people that they were Israelites. When you had these various small brothers that was teaching us we were Israel, the word didn't explode yet. Until the word exploded through the hands of these Judites that was in the World West. The most I used to explode this word, like TNT. The most I say, hear ye the voice of Judah, read.
And bring him unto his people.
And bring him unto his what?
Unto his people.
And bring him unto his people so we could come together. Believe it or not, this word stands back to them through the mouth of the Most High used the mouth of the Judites to teach us that was Levites. The Haitians in Haiti wasn't teaching the other nations who were Levites. They didn't learn that until a lot of them came here, learned through some Judites, and they started going back to Haiti and teaching that the so-called Haitian man is Levites. There's more to that?
Come.
Read.
And let his hands be sufficient
and
for him.
And let his hands be what?
Be sufficient for him.
And let his hands be sufficient for the work that's at hand. Let's go back to where he's at in Genesis 49.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 10.
Jump down to verse 13. I believe that's the next tribe.
Come.
We're just going to address each tribe.
Verse 13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
Now who's Zebulun? Zebulun is of the northern kingdom. Zebulun is the so-called Guatemalans, Panama, Ecuador, the Mayan Indians, Honduras, make up the tribe of Zebulun. I want you to give me a picture of the Panama Canal. Read that again.
Chapter verse 13.
Before that, give me an ancient map of Israel. I'm going to show you an example. Read that.
Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
The Most High says that Zebulun in these last days should dwell in the haven of ships. What is this referring to? This is referring to the largest known canal in the Western Hemisphere, which is the Panamanian Canal. Well, coincidentally, you see the descendants of the Mayans living in that region. Now, there's an issue. If this is referring to the land of Israel, let's see a map of where Zebulun is at. I need a map of the tribe so we can see where Zebulun is at. I'm going to point out something. I'm going to point something out. Read that again.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
The Most High says Zebulun should dwell in the haven of the sea. Now, if this was talking about ancient Israel, could this verse be referring to Zebulun? Where's Zebulun living? Look at the land that he's living in. Is he dwelling in the haven of the sea?
Nope.
He's what?
He is in the middle.
It's called
Away from the sea.
landlocked. He's landlocked. In the ancient land of Israel, he wasn't surrounded by the sea. He was in the middle of Asher, Naphtali, Issachar, Manasseh. Zebulun was landlocked. So that lets us know he wasn't referring by ancient times. He's referring about the times to come, which is now.
Whoa.
Now you get the Panamanian Canal.
Dang.
Read that again, Dr.
The book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
He should dwell at the haven of the sea, man.
And he shall be for an haven of ships.
He should be a haven of ships where many ships is on dwell at and dock at, which we see through the Panamanian Canal. We're waiting for the brother to pull up the image of the Panamanian Canal for us.
Read.
And his border shall be unto Zidon.
And his border should be unto Zidon. Read.
That's it.
We'll
We got
continue.
14.
Because Issachar, the blessing of Issachar and Zebulun going with each other.
Come. Issachar.
Issachar
Is
is the indigenous Mexicans. Make up a tribe of Issachar. The brother right now got an illustration of the Panamanian Canal. You kind of just got the image for us. On images, we didn't get the map.
I got you.
Issachar is the Aztec Indians. Make up the tribe of Issachar. Read.
Issachar is a strong donkey couching down between two burdens.
He's a strong donkey couching between the two burdens. Which is that two burdens? Which is South America and North America. Two burdens. Going through it in Mexico, South America, going through it in America. Read.
Verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw that rest was good.
He saw that rest was good. What is this rest referring to? This brother's pulling up, I'm still pulling up the Panamanian Canal. This rest is referring to when they came here, they see opportunity in America. They see, They see opportunity in America. A time to a land that they can change their lives and make something of themselves. And not only that, there's something that's known amongst the Issacharites. So I was going to ask that noon they do this. This is why you see them when they work so hard, you see them laying on their tree sleeping, or on the roof sleeping, or on the sidewalk sleeping where they're working at. It's called what? Anybody knows?
Sleep.
No. Not sleep.
Siesta.
It's called siesta. Siesta is known amongst the Issacharites. This is what it's referring to as well as they seen resting, it was good. That's why you always see them laying around. They don't want to do that. So-called Haitian man would be complaining in the sun if he was laying down before like that. Black American man. But you see the so-called Mexican man does it, read.
And he saw that rest was good.
He saw that rest was good, read.
And the land that was pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And bowed his shoulder to bear.
He bowed his shoulder to what?
To bear.
To become in a position of servitude. There's no man who works harder than the so-called Mexican man. He outworks the so-called Black American, Haitian man, Bahamian man, Jamaican man, Puerto Rican man. Nobody works harder than the so-called Mexican man. He'll work 18 hours a day for 7 days a week for the name of his family, you know. Read.
And became a servant unto tribute.
He became a servant. He worked low-end jobs for tribute. I was in Homestead 2 weeks ago. I see Issachar in the field picking, we call those things, picking papayas, picking tomatoes in the field in the hot sun.
They're still doing it.
Yeah, they still do that to this day. I would go to Haiti before I go do that. I would have to leave you brothers to go to Haiti before I do that.
So in 2018 when Trump
Right.
in 2018 when Trump did the travel ban for the immigrants coming here, they was the one to work the fields. So all the fruits went bad, all of the produce was being picked. They even paid Esau double the amount with actual great benefits, and they didn't even do it. They couldn't do it. And after the trial ban was released, it was Issachar back in the field, and everything was being produced again. Because they still accursed in the field doing that work.
Because you see Issachar do the most work. The
Still,
scripture say that he will bow in his position of servitude. Let's continue reading.
Verse 16. Dan.
That's it. Give me Deuteronomy 33 and 18. We'll go a little bit more into that. Deuteronomy 33 and 18.
you still want us?
No, you can take it down.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 18.
He's getting more about between Zebulon and Issachar. We're still on that.
And of Zebulun he said,
Zebulon, read.
Rejoice, Zebulun,
He said, rejoice, Zebulon. Why?
in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tent.
He says, rejoice, O Zebulon, for thy going out, because why? Zebulon and Issachar used to have close dealings with each other in this land. Prior before the so-called white man came here. They had close dealings with each other, intermingle with each other, trade amongst each other, have their own feast days amongst each other. They had close dealings with one another. Read.
Oh, 17.
And Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. They shall call the people.
They shall what?
They shall call the people.
Zebulun was when I will call the people, read, to do what?
Unto the mountain. There they shall offer
They
sacrifices.
should do what?
Offer sacrifices.
They would sacrifice. In ancient times, they used to bring sacrifices in righteousness. When they came over here, what were they sacrificing now? Give me Hosea 8 and 13. They were sacrificing the flesh of people. Well, Bishop, you guys gotta remember, the Northern Kingdom was sacrificing people to the sun god, to the corn god, to the rock god, sacrificing human flesh. Hosea 8:13.
The book of Hosea, chapter 8, verse 13.
Read.
They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offering.
They sacrifice the flesh, human flesh, instead of the sacrifices of the Most High. You and us find in the law that you could sacrifice human flesh for an offering. But this is what the Northern Kingdom was doing, especially Zebulun. Let's go back.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 19. They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas, and the treasure and of treasures hid in the sand.
They will enjoy the resources of their land. All the things that's hidden in the sea, hidden in the earth, that they will reap the benefits from that. But you see, the white man always have monopoly on everything. So they only get to enjoy it in a small degree. Let me get actually 1 Chronicles 12:32 before we move on as well. Because there was something that's known amongst the Issacharites called I believe it's called the Aztec calendar, if I'm correct. Right? Let me get a picture of that up. Yeah. And that's actually recorded in the scriptures that Issachar was known for reading the stars and reading times when it was time for us to go to war. Right? When you read Numbers, the 10th chapter, the silver horns, the silver trumpets was given to the Levites to declare the new moons in that assembly times for the feast days of God. Let's get 1 Chronicles 12:32.
1 Chronicles chapter 12 and verse 32. And of the children of Issachar,
And the children of Issachar, read,
which were men that had understanding of the times,
because they had understanding of times. This chapter deals with war counsel. They had understanding of times of when to go to war, the perfect season to go to war and go fight, and direction how to read the stars. Read.
to know what Israel ought to do.
And what Israel ought to do when it's time for us to go fight. Now let's go back to who was that? I believe we finished Deuteronomy 33. Let's go back. Let's move on to the next tribe. Genesis.
Dan, or Genesis chapter 49 verse 16.
Read.
Dan shall judge his
The
people.
Most I say, Dan should judge his people. And this is an image of the, I believe it's the Aztec calendar. This is something that they used to read the stars at certain times. The so-called Mexican man, which is the tribe of Issachar. You can read about Dan.
Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people.
The most I say, Dan should judge his people. Dan is still going to be around. A lot of people debate on who Dan is. Dan is the indigenous Cubans. He says he should judge his people, read.
As one of the tribes of Israel.
As one of the tribes of Israel. I would like the brother to find a link while the class is done. There's a full video of the chief minister going over the tribe of Dan and what happened to them and why they diminished to a low number. Because Dan diminished to such a low number, it's why people believe that he's not listed no more in Revelations and listed in Revelations as one of the tribes. Go ahead, read.
Verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way.
Dan is going to be a serpent in the way. You don't see a serpent until they attack you. Cuba's right there in the way of America. Read.
An adder in the path.
He's like a viper in the path. Because you don't see the serpent until after they bite you. America won't realize Cuba was the worst threat since Al-Qaeda until Cuba hit it with a bomb in these last days. And that's coming. Read.
That biteth the horse's heels.
That biteth the horse's heel. Because Dan is, the so-called Cuban man is not a weak man. The indigenous Cubans is not a weak people. Oftentimes we see that you see Esau like put this propaganda that the 12 tribes of Israel is a weak nation, we're cowards. The tribe of Dan, they're experts of war according to the scriptures. These people. Give me Deuteronomy 33 and 22.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 22. And of Dan he
And
said.
of Dan, the tribe of Dan, the indigenous Cubans, read.
Dan is a lion's whelp.
Dan is like a young lion. Judah is like an old lion right now. But Dan is like a young lion. He's ready to get down. Read.
He shall leap from Bashan.
He shall leave from Bashan. That goes into the breakdown of what happened then. They were consumed by the tribe of Manasseh in their territory when you go into the history. But that's a whole other class. Let's go back to who was in Genesis.
Genesis chapter 49 verse 16. Verse 17. Actually, we finished that. Verse 18. And I have waited for thy salvation, O Most High.
And Dan is waiting for the salvation of the Most High. If he's done away, how can he wait for a salvation he's not a part of? If he's not going to be in the nation in the land of Israel in the times to come. Read.
Verse 19. Gad.
What did he say?
Gad.
Who?
Gad.
What?
Gad.
Say Gad. Gad is the Native Americans. And you have the Sioux, the Cherokee, Blackfoot Indians. These make up the tribe of Gad. Read.
A troop shall overcome
They
him.
say a troop shall overcome him. The troop that overcame him was the so-called white man that overcame him. That defeated him. Took him from took his land from him. That's now they claim themselves to be $5 Indians. Read.
But he shall overcome at the last.
But how is he going to overcome in the last? The kingdom of heaven is for the children of Israel. They're going to be one of the 12,000 sealed to go against the powers that be in this world in the times to come. Read.
Verse 20. Out of Asher,
That's it. Give me Deuteronomy 33. Deuteronomy 33 and 20.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 20. And of Gad, he
And of
said,
who?
of Gad,
And of Gad, the Native Americans, read.
blessed be he that enlargeth Gad.
He said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad, that enlargeth his gates. Read.
He dwelleth as a
He
lion.
dwelleth as a what?
As a lion.
He dwelleth as a lion. That means Gad wasn't to play around with. You brought the smoke to Gad, God gave you the smoke. You take one of theirs, they take 10 of yours. This is how Gad was moving. Gad, the tribe of Gad had an order to a degree. They were like the northern kingdom's Levites. They had a sense of justice amongst them. Read.
He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head.
He do what?
And teareth the arm.
He teareth the arm. He defeats his enemies. I want you to get me an image of a scalping, Native American scalping. An image of that. Try to get it quick, Abu Shah.
And teareth the arm.
He teareth the arm and do what?
With the crown of the head.
And he take down. He scalped them. Gad was known for scalping. What is? Does anybody in the room know what scalping is? Because Esau was known for it's like it. Esau was known for cutting off their heads. I mean, not their heads, their hair, because Gad has tough hair that he could use for various different reasons. So Gad was like, okay, you want to take ours? I'm gonna take yours. And before, when they would come and attack Esau, they'd grab their hair up and just scalp it back, like somebody they make them look permanently forehead bald. That's what Gad would do to them.
Yeah, it was started by Esau as a bounty to declare how many Indians they killed. They scalped them afterwards.
Exactly. Now you see Gad returning the favor righteously to him. That's coming back.
I got pictured that one too.
Let's continue reading while you get that image.
That's it.
This
Yeah,
guy
20.
right here, he survived
21.
scalping.
He provided
Destroyed it
the first.
completely. Never recovered.
That's coming. Read.
Verse 21. And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Most High.
So Gad was one that was holding down the justices of the Most High amongst the other tribes. Amongst the children of Gad and Native Americans, you see the Hebrew. You see that they knew the name Yahweh, the name of Yahushua. They kept the Sabbath day. They kept the certain dietary laws. They kept the laws of the Most High, and they executed justice amongst the northern kingdom. Read.
And his judgments with Israel.
And his judgments with Israel. Let's go back to what it is.
Genesis 49 and verse 20. Out of Asher.
Out of who?
Out of Asher.
Out of what?
Out of Asher.
Asher. Asher is the so-called Brazilians. So-called Colombians to Uruguay. That will make up the tribe of Asher. Asher means he is happy. Read.
His bread shall be fat.
His bread should be what?
Shall be fat.
His bread meaning his substance will be fat. There's a lot of resources in Colombia. There's a lot of resources of iron in Brazil. Read.
And he shall yield royal
He
dainties.
shall be growth what?
Royal dainties.
That's referring to their delicacies, their desserts. They're known and famous for the desserts that they produce and that they give out. Read.
That's it on that.
Let me get Deuteronomy 33:24.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and 24. And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children.
Let the Colombian Brazilian man to Uruguay be blessed with children. Read.
Let him be acceptable to his brethren.
Let him be acceptable to his brother. What does that mean that he's going to be blessed with children? At one point, the Brazilian, let me make sure I quote the correct thing. At one point, the so-called Asherites was having so much children, people started killing them. Trying to dwindle their numbers. Just like what Esau did to our people in Cuba. Because there was so much of us, that's their dark sin of us, they started importing Edomites
in there to lower down the numbers. Same things they were doing to the Asherites. And he said, let him be what?
Let him be acceptable to his brethren.
And let him be acceptable to his brother, because a lot of the children of Asher that's in the Amazon, a lot of them are cannibals. A lot of them are eating human flesh. That's why I said let him be acceptable to his brother, because the other tribes don't want to deal with them. They're not going to have Asher amongst them, and then Asher trying to eat their children. Read.
And let him dip his foot in oil.
And let him dip his foot in what?
In oil.
In who?
In oil.
This is why America was going at Venezuela. Because Venezuela was fighting with Venezuela for what?
Oil.
For oil. This is why they messed up Venezuelan economy. This is why they're making these people suffer. They don't want to let them into the border. When they're trying to escape persecution. They were blessed with oil, according to the scriptures. Read.
That shoes shall be iron and brass.
Their shoes will be dipped in the rich resources of iron and brass in that region. Read.
And as thy days, so shall thy strength be. There is none like unto Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
There is none like unto the power of Jeshurun, who rideth upon the head. Upon the head. Okay.
Let's go back to who is that.
Genesis 49 and verse 21.
Okay.
Naphtali.
Who?
Naphtali.
Naphtali is the indigenous Kola tribe, the Mapuche tribe of Chile and Argentina. Make up the tribe of Naphtali. And we're going to find out why we say that those make up the tribe of Naphtali. A lot of times we don't see Naphtali like that. Argentinians and Chileans. I only know probably about 3 or 4 of them, to be honest. You don't see them as much. But read.
Naphtali is a hind let loose.
He's like a hind let loose. A hind is a deer. He's like a deer let loose. He's all over the place. He's like nomads. A lot of times when you see the indigenous Argentinians and Chileans, they live in high altitudes in the mountains. Read.
He giveth goodly words.
They give what?
Goodly words.
They're what? Peaceable people. Pleasant people to be around with. Their characteristics, their nature. Read.
That's it.
Give me Deuteronomy 33:23. Give me the Western Hemisphere map again. We're gonna show geographically how we know Naphtali is the indigenous Chileans and Argentinians. We're gonna get a Western Hemisphere map up against. I want you to go down to South America. A little farther down. All right. Go up a little bit. Okay, thank you. Let's read Deuteronomy 33:23.
Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 23.
Mm-hmm.
And Naphtali, he said, Naphtali.
The indigenous Chilean and Argentinian. A lot of people say that they're the Samoans and Pacific Islanders. Those Pacific Islanders and Samoans are heathens, they're the Japhites, they're going to captivity. Those are not the Israelites. I'm sorry?
You said the rock?
No, I'm sorry?
The rock?
The Rock is actually a Judite. He actually claims to be a Samoan. Just like a lot of Haitians, when they speak French and they're light skinned, they say they're French. And a lot of Hispanics, when they're light skinned, they say they're Spaniards and white people. That's the same issue with Rock. Now read.
Verse 23.
Genesis
Naphtali. Okay.
33:23.
Verse 23. And of Naphtali he said.
And of Naphtali, read.
O Naphtali,
Read.
satisfied with favor.
Satisfied with favor, read.
And full with blessings.
Full of blessings, of resources that the Most High blessed them with, read.
Of the Most High.
Of the Most High, read.
Possessed thou the west.
Possess thou the what?
The west.
Now, when you look on a map in the Western Hemisphere, South America, who possesses the far west of South America? What country is that?
Argentina.
That's south. That's west. It's Chile. That's the farthest country in the west in South America. The Most High say, possess thou the west, read.
Possessed thou the west.
The west and what?
And the south.
And it holds right in hand with Revelation 7. It holds hand in hand with Genesis 49. Holds hand in hand with Deuteronomy 33. And it holds hand in hand with the 12 tribes of Trump. That the indigenous people of Chile and Argentina make up the tribe of Naphtali. Read.
That's it.
Let's move on to the next one.
Genesis chapter 49 verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bow.
Joseph is a fruitful bow. It was just the Boiqua and Taino Indians. Ephraim is a fruitful bow. Read.
Even a fruitful bow by a well.
Even a fruitful bow by a well. When a tree is by a well, it's by a water source. That means it's continual being plenteous. It's just growing. It's just full of resources. Read.
Whose branches run over the wall.
Which branches they have so much they're just all over the place. There's more Puerto Ricans that's in the Western Hemisphere that could fit in that island. Read.
The archers have sorely grieved him.
The archers is who? Who's the archers? That swords that grieves him. It's a so-called white man that came in there, the Spaniards. That came there and grieved them with the arrows. That threw cannons and bombarded that island when the Ephraimites was in that island. The children of Joseph. Read.
And shot at him and hated him. And shot at him and hated him.
And shot and hated him because a lot of times the so-called Ephraimites, they love the so-called white man, but they don't understand the white man hate them. There's a reason why the so-called white men, out of the majority of those countries, the Northern Kingdom countries, they get Ephraim American delicacies, American privileges. And they give Judah a lot of privileges over here because those are the two head tribes. As long as they're asleep, the other one don't get an order. When I was in Puerto Rico, the whole time, I was there in December with Chief Priest and other brothers. The whole time I'm thinking, Puerto Rico was like Haiti. It's pretty much like over here in America. They wear Jordans over there. They wear very nice clothes. They just better than people over here. They get all the privileges of America. Now, that's why they're in such a docile state. And not only that, you see Ephraim is so fruitful. I'm going to give him a special account. I'm going to give him an account because I was there in December. We was in Puerto Rico. We went to a Walmart. A Walmart's full of men, women, and children, right? Men, women, and children. And we was in there. It was so crazy because I never experienced this before. I'm looking around, and the most I bear witness, 90% of the people that was in that Walmart was women. 90%. It was so bad. I told them, I said, where's the men? I know all of us as a nation is jacked up, are men, women, and children. So I know that Ephraim does not have it like that to be that much in order. I'll show you, there's a huge population of women. That's why you have a huge population of children being born in that land. It was crazy because when you go over here, you see Jake outnumber Eve in Walmart down here in Oakley. But when you go to Puerto Rico, it's completely different. So let's continue reading.
Verse 24. But his bow abode in strength.
But his bow, abode in strength, which is the Most High, which is his bow, his weapon. Read.
And the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the Almighty power.
That was made strong by the hands of the Almighty, which is their strength. Because the reason why they're still here is because of the Most High. All the tribulation that they made them go through in that land, when the so-called white man first encountered that land, gave them smallpox, fed them to dogs, burned them at the stake, they're still here today because the Most High is their strength. Give me Hosea 7 and 8. And I need Jeremiah 12 and 9 as well. Because we spoke a lot about Northern Kingdom. A lot of people disconnect from Northern Kingdom because of the way they look now. This is not, people got to understand that the so-called Northern Kingdom, right now, they got the cake on turn because of all the assimilation that they've been doing for so long with the other nations. Yes, there was Israelites who looked like Chris Brown, that looked like what's his brother name? Smokey Robinson. Then you have brothers who look like Wesley Snipes. Then you have brothers who look like Sammy Sosa. But you didn't have Israelites walking around on the norm who look like Donald Trump, who look like Joe Biden, who look like Habib in the gas station, or Aladdin in a dollar store. We didn't have that all the time because we strongly intermingled with ourselves a lot. But we did go off and we intermingled with the nations. But give me Hosea 7 and 8.
The book of Hosea.
Hosea 7 and 8.
The book of Hosea, chapter 7 and verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people.
He mixed himself amongst the other nations. This is why you have Ephraim, they look light, dark skin, brown, caramel, mixed, long hair, dark hair, brown hair, blonde hair, green eyes, hazel eyes. And that goes for all the Northern Kingdom. Now, there's some guys and women that look just like Wesley Snipes, who look just like Bernie Mac, and they're the Northern Kingdom. Read.
Ephraim is a cake not turned.
He's a cake unturned. He looks all different shades of brown. All different pigmentation. Predominantly, when you go to the land of Haiti, the Haitians are so-called brown and dark skin, light skin and very, very, very charcoal black. But when you look amongst the Northern Kingdom, you see a lot of they have different mixed complexions, intermingling with the so-called white man. But you know it's crazy when you actually go into the land of Puerto Rico or the other Northern Kingdom lands. A lot of times Esau pushed this white image on TV, but a lot of times a lot of them are caramel. A lot of them have afros. A lot of them got kinky hair. A lot of them are dark skinned. A lot of them did not assimilate with these other nations. But give me Jeremiah 12:9 as well before we go back.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 12 and verse 9. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird.
Most I say his heritage is like a speckled bird. When you go into the Hebrew, it's diverse colors. Us as a nation of Israel, we look all types of ways. Because we've been separated and been breaking the commandments on our own side, dealing with these other nations. We look all types of ways. This Levites was going to look like Blake Griffin's son. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Look like Zach and Cody. You're going to have Levites who look as dark as skin as me. You're going to have Benjamites who look like Arabs. Then you're going to have Benjamites who look like Barrington Navy. We look all various types of ways. But as long as we're the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we're keeping the commandments of faith of Yahweh, we have passage to the kingdom of heaven. Read.
Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird.
The speckled bird, read.
The birds round about are against her.
That's the other nations who's against us. Let's go back to, let me get Deuteronomy. Let's continue with the children of Joseph. Deuteronomy 33 and 13.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 13. And of Joseph he said, blessed of the Most High be his land.
Blessed be the Most High his land, which is the land of Puerto Rico. Read.
For the precious things of heaven.
The precious things of heaven, read.
For the dew and for the deep that couches beneath.
Which is the resources, the iron, the tin, the steel, the jewels that's in that land. Puerto Rico was named Puerto Rico, Port of Riches, because of the resources that was once flourishing in that land. Read.
And for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth.
And you see the Most High blessing them at everything, the mountains, the trees, the earth, the vegetation, everything that they're being blessed with. See, you see the Most High dealing with Joseph on another level. You know, they receive a lot of blessings. Read.
And fullness thereof, and for the good will of him that dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. His glory is like the firstlings of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth.
He shall push the people together. What is that referring to when they came over here? Because who ushered and who was the leader in the Northern Kingdom's council to come over here? It's Ephraim. They chose Ephraim to lead them over here. Read.
And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh.
And the thousands of Manasseh. That there's a lot of them. There's still Northern Kingdom that's still in the land of West Coast of Africa. There's a small tribe amongst the Yoruba that call themselves Benin Ephraim, and that's before the so-called white man came to them. They knew this. There's a small sect of the Yoruba who are the descendants of the Ephraimites. And they look completely different than the ones over here. They look completely different from the Igbo, the Ewe, and the other tribes that's over here. They look like they're Native American. They're just black Native American natives over there. But let's continue. Let's go back to Genesis.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 49 and verse 27.
All right.
Benjamin.
And who?
Benjamin.
And who?
Benjamin.
Benjamin is Bunyamin. See, this brother smiling at me. Well, if I ask him to see Patois, he can't see Patois. See, Benjamin, read.
Shall raven as a wolf.
Shall raven as a wolf. What does it mean to raven as a wolf? Because Benjamin's not biting people in the arm. That's not what Benjamin is doing. That's not the tribe of Benjamin. But that's not the tribe of Benjamin. That's the Southern Kingdom. That's the Negroes. Now, the tribe of Benjamin is the so-called Jamaican man, the so-called Bahamian man, the so-called Trinidadian man, the so-called Guyanese man, the St. Kitts man, the Virgin Islands man. These will make up the tribe of Benjamin, West Indian.
Those that speak the slang, the patois slang, will make up the tribe of Benjamin over here in the Western Hemisphere.
Mhm.
The Most High said they shall raven as a wolf, meaning they will speak against unrighteousness. They will stand up against unrighteousness. Because when you look at the other tribes, Benjamin has something special amongst them. We would go into the history and the name Jamaica, but I might as well just go into it. Because a lot of times they teach the so-called Jamaican man, the land of Jamaica means land of wood and water. When you go into the Arawak language, that's not what the word wood and water mean in their language. The word Jamaica comes in their language, which got where they got the word Jamaica from, means land to be heard. What will be heard from Jamaica? Let's get some songs. Let me get the Buju Banton one. You know which one. The one you guys always sing. You know which one I want. Go ahead and give an example of how Benjamin Raven has a wolf. You know which one I want.
I know.
You know what I want.
I'm getting it.
After Benjamin theme song, you know what I want. Let me give an example. How does Benjamin Raven has a wolf? Now you continue playing, read that again.
Deuteronomy, Genesis, chapter 49, verse 27. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf.
Shall what?
Shall raven as a wolf.
Shall who?
Shall raven as a
This
wolf.
is how Benjamin Raven as a wolf. He was speaking against unrighteousness. You can stop now. Now you can play Warrior King versus Woman. That's another example of them speaking against injustice. When the other tribes were speaking about Mrs. Johnson and me, while Mr. Johnson was at work, Benjamin was speaking against Babylon. When the so-called Haitian man was speaking about voodoo and their idols and drink offerings, Benjamin was speaking that we're brothers and sisters, we need to come together. When the Native Americans was worshiping their false gods, Puerto Ricans was worshiping their false gods, falling in idolatry, the so-called Jamaican man was praising the name of the Most High Power. You can just give another example of them raving. They can hear us, right? Give an example.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf.
Hold on. You go ahead, man.
Fair use.
You sound. Now give me one JC by his deeds. That will be the last one. You see, Benjamin's was speaking in righteousness about the so-called Israelite woman. Get a virtuous woman. She's gonna do you right. She's gonna do you okay. She's gonna increase your life. The other tribes are talking about committing adultery with another man's wife. Levites don't predominantly do that. They speak about their woman only in a monogamous relationship in their music. But Benjamin predominantly speaks about righteousness in their music. Nowadays, now you get who you got nowadays? You got what's his name? Vibes Cartel and Movado, Popcorn, and all this madness, speaking madness and wickedness. But in ancient times, Benjamin spoke righteousness. This is how they raven against the enemy. You don't have to play them. Go ahead and continue.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf.
They should speak against the unrighteous. They should sing praises to the Most High. Read.
In the morning he shall devour the prey.
In the morning he should divide the prey. Read.
And at night he shall divide the spoil.
He should divide the spoil. The night referring to what? The new day. When we get into the king, he's going to divide the lot with the children of Israel. He's going to divide the prey. He's going to divide the spoils. The salvation will come with the children of Israel. He's going to be there as well. Give me Deuteronomy 33 now.
Deuteronomy 33 and verse 12.
Deuteronomy 33 and 29.
And 29.
Mm-hmm.
Happy art thou, O Israel.
Oh, 33 and 12. So like you.
33 and verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
And of Benjamin he said.
And of Benjamin, the so-called West Indies, read.
The beloved of the Most High.
The beloved of the Most High
shall dwell in the safety by him.
The Most High said that he should dwell in safety by him. The beloved of the Most High. But we know Judah received the covenant that the kings, which is the King of Kings, Yahweh should come out of his tribe. Levi received the priesthood with an everlasting covenant. But Benjamin is the beloved of the Most High. And he said that he should what?
Dwell in safety by him.
He should dwell in safety. If a Category 7 hurricane passes through this side of the earth,
It's going to bring Haiti under the land of water. It's going to circle Jamaica 7 times, and the Jamaicans, man, will still be okay. Second Vibes Cartel in Atlanta, Jamaica. Dwelling in safety. Read.
And the Most High shall cover him all the day long.
And the Most High shall cover him and protect him. Because that's the youngest son of Jacob. That's the beloved son of Jacob. That's the beloved son of the Most High. This is how we know these are the 12 tribes of Israel predominantly over here. But that's not all of the Israelites. There's still Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and we understand this. Give me Isaiah 11:11. Like I said before, this could have been a 6-hour class easily for the amount of history that we refrained from putting out because of the process of time. And the amount of Hebrew we didn't go into, and the artifacts, and the historical references that we didn't go into.
I was trying to find the one that we went through with the Chief Priest Alazar, or with the Native Americans. I took it so long to try to find it. You can't find none of those pictures online. Of the Chief Priest of the Native Americans had a Gadass hat with their lilies on. Couldn't find none of that stuff. That's why I was searching for so long. Couldn't find nothing to prove what the scripture is saying. It's not online. You get those books to get those attribution.
God, you got to. That's why most I say, blessed are those that read. Go ahead and read that.
Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. And it shall come to pass.
And the Most I say, it shall come to pass, read.
In that day.
In that day, read.
That the Adawan shall set his hand again the second time.
The second time, read.
To recover the remnant of his people.
The remnant of his people, read.
Which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt.
From where?
And from Pathros. And from Cush.
Read.
And from Elam. And from Shinar. And from Hamath. And from the islands of the sea. Verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nation.
So the Most High is going to be gathering a remnant of us that's scattered in the Eastern Hemisphere. That's in China. That's in Asia. That's in Korea. That's in the Philippines. That's in the West Coast of Africa, South Africa, Central Africa, Iraq, Iran, amongst the Saudis, amongst the East Indians, amongst the Kushites, and probably in Antarctica as well. The Most High is going to gather these remnant, but predominantly the majority of Israel is over here on this side of the earth. But he's going to gather the remnant as well that's keeping the commandments in the faith and bring us under the new covenant in the wilderness in the times to come. So this is the understanding of the 12 tribes of Israel. Like I said before, maybe we're going to do another version of this class, but go into the historical documents. And probably going to have the Captain Montezak and myself go do a series, a 12-episode series on each of the 12 tribes of Israel, going into it historically, biblically, having all the sources for you at hand. And while we say who we say you are. So is there any questions in the room? Any questions in the room?
I may have one.
Go right ahead.
As we were saying before, the Levites were joined into the Most High. So in the time of Moses, I'm wondering, so right now, when we pray by Hashem Yahushua. When the people prayed back then, did they pray through Moses?
No, they prayed through Moses. That would be going on. What they would do is pray directly to the Most High.
Okay.
After Yahushua come, that's when they get to understand they gotta pray by Hashem Yahushua. And so when you actually get 1 Peter 2:5.
So the remnant he's speaking about, for example.
But there's remnant all over, man. All over the planet. 1 Peter 2:5. I wonder what brothers are gonna do. They keep worrying about skin color. What are you gonna do when the Israelite with fringes? That look like Bruce Lee tell you he knows he's from the tribe of Judah. He could trace his lineage back to David.
Yep.
What are you gonna do then? There's Israelites today that could trace their lineage 20 generations ago, 30 generations ago. I was actually watching a documentary a while back, right? There's a remnant of there's a Levite brother who I believe he stayed around Mali. He had the records of his family that goes back at least over 100 years ago. Easily over 100 years ago. And he found out he was the descendant of the Levites of the family of Kohath. Over there they call them Kehath or Kati, meaning Kohath. If he knew that information, me over here, we barely could go 2 generations, 3 generations back.
Yep.
How are we going to disown him for being a Levite and he could go 20 generations back? But we could barely go 2. Go ahead. 1 Peter 2 and 5. You can take that down.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5.
Read.
Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy
1
priesthood.
Peter 2 and 4.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4.
No, 1 Timothy 2 and 5. So like it. 1 Timothy 2 and 5. 1 Timothy 2 and 5.
1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 5. For there is one power
There is one power. Read.
and one mediator between the Most High and men, the man Hamashiach Yahushua.
The man Hamashiach Yahusha. When Yahusha revealed it, we got to understand. We got to pray and go through Yahusha to get to the Most High. We didn't pray by Hashem, Loya, Yahweh. We didn't do that. We just prayed to the Most High and that was it. But after Yahusha revealed himself, then we started praying in the name of the Messiah. Because the Most High gave him the authority to be able to do that. Was there any other questions? You can keep the chat scroll down. Is there any questions in the chat? Any questions in the chat? Any questions in the chat for us? I'm going to do announcements in the meantime. March 26th next week is Yahweh's Passover. We're going to be keeping it at the Polish Club. If you want to know the information to the Passover, check our YouTube channel. You will see the promotion videos. Tune in, get the information. We want to see you there, family. All Israelite born are welcome to the Yahweh's Passover. It's $75 for singles, and I believe $175 for a family. Please come through, keep the Passover as it is written according to the Bible, according to the law of the Most High. We ought to keep the Passover. Wednesday wisdom class is every Wednesday from about 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Thursday class is from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday class is from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Shabbat service class on Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday Life or Death Radio is from
It's Tuesdays.
the Life or Death Radio.
Sunday Live for Death.
8 p.m. until
8 p.m. to 5 o'clock in the morning. Tuesday class, the Bring It Out Show, is hosted by the Chief Minister Shalom and myself, Captain Amon Beloya. It's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please, family, we're going over the family structure. We're going over using wisdom and building an Israelite family. What's going on with us as a nation of people. Please tune into that class. Ask questions in the chat. Call in. If you need live counsel with the Chief Minister himself, who's known in Israel for his counsels, contact us. Ask us questions. Email us. Call us. Now, is there any questions in the chat before we get ready to close out? Any questions in the chat? Any questions in the chat? Let's scroll up to find out who's here. Shalom to our brother William. Shout out to our brother Nightmare. Shalom to our sister Moria. Shalom to our sister Tashika Williams. Shalom to our brother Kashakia. Shalom to the Jacksons. He asked, Deuteronomy 28:68, a reoccurring curse, like it happened twice or just once with the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, the slave trade when we went to the slave ships, brother, and when the Northern Kingdom was put on slave ships as well, that's when the Deuteronomy 28:68 was fulfilled. Brother Iron Lion, one in Hebrew, Barzal Ariyah. Shalom, brother. Slide down. Shalom to our sister K Tai. You scroll down, just keep scrolling down.
Jeremiah.
Shalom to Jeremiah. Shalom to Officer Kairam. I have a question. It's off topic. Ezekiel 65 is referring to funerals being held in church. Take a look at it right now. Give me Job 11:6 as well. Get that again. Get me Job 11:6 first.
Fine, I got it.
Look at Job chapter 11 and verse 6. And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is.
Now, a lot of times in scriptures it refers to like this duality in the scriptures. We refer to one thing, and you can also apply it to another. Right? You can also apply it to another. So when we read Ezekiel 6 and 5, it's not referring to the church, it's referring to what's going on in that time period. The Most High was going to bring judgment on Israel and leave a remnant, and their remnant be scattered. When you get down to Ezekiel 6 and 8, or further expound on that remnant that will be scattered. So it's not referring to the church. If you want to apply it that way, you could, I guess you could play with it that way, but it's not necessarily concrete referring to the church. It's referring to the judgment the Most High was going to bring to Israel. Is there any other questions before we close out? Any other questions? We're going to leave the floor open for about 10 seconds. Any other questions? We're going to be open for another 20 seconds. As well, we have another announcement. Subscribe to our The Light of Zion Church and Coast page. The Light of Zion Church and Coast page under our powerful captain over thousands of souls, Captain Bayaf Kazak. Shalom, and actually subscribe to The Light of Zion Lee County under our powerful Captain Kadash over hundreds, and Lee County, Florida, holding it down. Soon enough, we will have a The Light of Zion MPC, but that's a secret until it's revealed. The Light of Zion MPC is coming soon. Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for the next episode of LOZ.
Do we have any other questions before we close out? Any other questions? Khan. Amadia, Wapanya, Hakiman. Razgazi. Hallelujah.
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 Who's the power?
How is the power?
Who's the power?
How is the power?
Hashem.
Yahushua.
Hashem.
Yahushua.
Abba Yahweh, we pray that you forgive us for our iniquities, Yahweh. Feed us with your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding tonight, Yahweh. Feed us with the understanding that you will gather the 12 tribes of Israel together, Yahweh. You will continue having mercy upon us. You will continue having compassion upon us, Yahweh. You will guide and protect us in these last days. You will be our shield and our buckler in these last days, Yahweh. We pray that you guide us. We pray that you forgive us for our iniquity, Yahweh. We ask that you receive Muslim of War 136 chapter, which is the book of Psalms, in the chapter 136 in the Lashon Kodash. After every verse, repeat, Ya Kasad Awalam.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Ya Kasad Awalam. For his mercy endureth forever. Psalm 136, verse 1. Yada Ha-Yahawah Tuwab.
Ya Kasad
Awalam.
Awalam.
Verse 2. Yada Ha-Alahayim Alahayim.
I'm not going to remember that. I got to write that down.
Ya Kasad Awalam. It's 3 words. We got to learn our Hebrew, brothers. We cannot continue being black Americans in America. It's Ya Kasad Awalam. Let's practice. Ya Kasad
Ya Kasad
Awalam.
Awalam.
Ya Kasad
Ya Kasad
Awalam.
Awalam.
What would you guys do if the Most High only understood the prayers in Hebrew? Let's read it again. Psalm 136 in the last one, Kodash. Yada Ha-Yahawah Tuwab.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Yada Ha-Alahayim Alahayim.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Yada Ha-Adawanyam.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Aisha Gadawal Pala.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Tabawan Aisha Ha-Shemayim.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Require Ha-Aratiza Ha-Mayim.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Aisha Gadawal Arayam.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Ha-Shamash Mamashala Yawam.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Ha-Yarak Wakawakab.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Naka Matazarayam Bakawar.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Wa Yataza Yasha Alatawak.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Kazak Yad Natazara.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Gazar Hasawab Yawam Gazar.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Wa Yasha Ala Arbar Tawak.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Nar Parai Hakayel Hasawab Yawam.
Ya Kasad Awalam.
Yalak I'm Madabar.
Yakasad Abulon.
Nakagadawal Malakium.
Yakasad Abulon.
Waharad Adayar Malakium.
Yakasad Abulon.
Sayawam Malak Amoria.
Yakasad Abulon.
Iwag Ha Malak Bashan.
Yakasad Abulon.
Wanathan Aratazanallah.
Yakasad Abulon.
Nahala Yasha'ala Ipad.
Yakasad Abulon.
Zakar Shapal.
Yakasad Abulon.
Waparak Tazar.
Yakasad Abulon.
Nathan Lakambashar.
Yakasad Abulon.
Yada Ha'ala Shemayim.
Yakasad Abulon.
Abba Yahweh, we come before you, Mashiach Yahweh. Please accept this prayer, Yahweh. Please guide us and protect us, feed us with your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and continue protecting us with your angels, Yahweh. God, protect us always.